Chapter 2431. Waiting. The atmosphere in the Holy Spirit dynasty was getting lively. The Holy Spirit dynasty had dispatched some people to invite these guests over. Even though the dynasty's leaders were all furious, they were also a bit frightened. Why did Lin Feng dare act so arrogantly? He had sent people to invite them to come to the Holy Spirit dynasty. It felt more like an order to come than anything else. I, Lin Feng, summon you, the dynasty's leaders. That was precisely why they were a bit worried. And that was also the reason why they had all come. They wanted to see what was happening. Now that they were here, they didn't need to be very polite, because having come was already polite. Lin Feng didn't give them face, so they needed to show they were proud and dignified. Holy Emperor Ling, what does Lin Feng want? Asked the Holy Emperor of the Qin dynasty icily. However, Holy Emperor Ling just looked unmoved. He glanced around at all the strong cultivators, smiling calmly. Lin Feng was right, they had all come. Of course, it was due to the fact that Lin Feng was famous abroad. Holy Emperor Qin, don't worry. You're not the first one to ask me that. Everybody, please sit down and enjoy the banquet. Why are you all so nervous? Holy Emperor Ling smiled. Lin Feng hadn't appeared. Yet so all the leaders were worried about what he was planning. How insolent, said someone icily. He looked at Holy Emperor Ling and said, I haven't left the university for years. I was invited today, so I came. And now you keep us waiting? Holy Emperor Ling looked at the speaker. It was an old man, an elder from Goblin Spirit University. People respected him because many geniuses studied at Goblin Spirit University. But Lin Feng kept him waiting. Lin Feng invited all of you. He also said you could choose not to come if you didn't want to. Now he's not here. He must have his reasons. If you want to wait, wait. If you don't feel like it, you can leave. Nobody is forcing you to stay, replied Holy Emperor Ling calmly. The old man pulled a long face, but he said nothing. They could stay and wait, or just leave, as they wished. Holy Emperor Ling sounded a bit haughty. How could those people not be furious? They were all extraordinary people. Nobody burst out into anger though. They just tried to put pressure on the Holy Spirit dynasty. If Lin Feng showed up and wasn't strong enough to keep them in control, then they wouldn't hesitate anymore. The banquet is for everybody, so help yourself, said Holy Emperor Ling smiling. Servants kept bringing fine liquor and food, but it didn't suffice to make those people happy. They waited for a while, and it became dark outside. The crowd grew more and more furious. Even though they all chatted, they looked dark and gloomy. Many strong cultivators just drank silently. Holy Emperor Ling was a bit surprised. What was Lin Feng doing? Was he trying to infuriate these people? Excuse me, everybody, said Holy Emperor Ling. He suddenly stood up and left. The crowd guessed he was going to go and look for Lin Feng. They couldn't do much but wait now. Holy Emperor Ling indeed went to look for Lin Feng. Lin Feng and Duan Feng were laying in the grass in a courtyard and chatting as if the outside world had nothing to do with them. They had even sealed the area with qi in order not to get disturbed by people's godly awareness. They looked completely at ease. They obviously didn't know that some of the leaders were already furious. Lin Feng, shouted Holy Emperor Ling in the courtyard. Holy Emperor Ling, come in, said Lin Feng smiling. When he saw Lin Feng lying in the grass, he was annoyed and asked, all the leaders are here. Aren't you going to see them? No rush. It's still early, said Lin Feng smiling. It's still early? Holy Emperor Ling's face stiffened, and he replied, those guys are all furious. If you keep making them wait, I'm afraid they will. Don't worry. Nothing will happen. Even if they get furious, then what? If they want to leave, they can leave, said Lin Feng smiled. He was calm, all pale clouds and light breezes, as if it wasn't a problem at all. Holy Emperor Ling didn't understand. Lin Feng, could you please tell me what you intend to do? Asked Holy Emperor Ling, smiling wryly. Holy Emperor. Lin Feng sat up. He asked, do you remember what happened last time when I came back? Yes, there was an envoy from a shrine. And some dynasties also got involved. They wanted to attack Cheongsheng. Luckily, you came back at the perfect time and solved the issue. I was astonished. Indeed. Nowadays, the continent of the 9 clouds is in a state of chaos. Nobody can escape it anywhere. If they weren't afraid of me, They could have joined hands and destroyed the Holy Spirit dynasty. What do you think? Asked Lin Feng. That's a fact, said Holy Emperor Ling, nodding agreement. Do you think we can accept a compromise or coexist peacefully with them? Asked Lin Feng. Impossible. Therefore this time, I want to teach them a good lesson. I want to show everyone in Chi Tian Holy Town that nobody can treat me or my family like that. I want them to remember it forever, said Lin Feng indifferently. Holy Emperor Ling smiled and nodded. All right, but some dynasties aren't our enemies. What will you do if they are furious or leave? Even if they're angry, so what? Nobody will dare attack in the Holy Spirit dynasty. If they leave, I'll invite them again, Lin Feng smiled. Including those we have tensions with. Since you have a plan, I'm not going to ask again, said Holy Emperor Ling, leaving quietly. At dawn, the atmosphere was oppressive. Lin Feng hadn't shown up at all. The leaders had been waiting the entire evening, and nobody could give them an explanation. How infuriating. Holy Emperor Ling, are you humiliating us on purpose? Asked Holy Emperor Qin icily. I've also been waiting here. I told you, if you want you can leave, said Holy Emperor Ling calmly. Holy Emperor Qin punched the table in front of him, and it exploded. Alcohol fell onto the ground. He looked dark and gloomy. Everybody, should we go? People were surprised and glanced at one another. Everybody, you must have noticed that many people are watching us from outside. People must already be talking about the fact that we've been waiting here the whole time. Do you really intend to stay here and wait? Asked Holy Emperor Qin. The crowd was surprised. They had also released their godly awareness and noticed that some people had been watching. All the leaders of the dynasties had gathered there. How could there not be anyone outside? I agree. Let's leave, said the Holy Emperor of the Great Desert Dynasty. Since you want to leave, just leave. Nobody is forcing you to stay. Why talk so much? Said someone with a smile. It was the celestial being of the ancient Jade Dynasty. The two holy emperors looked furious. You're patient then, celestial being, said Holy Emperor Qin icily. He rose up in the air and flew away. Outside, many people saw Holy Emperor Qin leave and whispered. He was out, he didn't want to wait anymore. Back in the days, there had been conflicts between him and Lin Feng. And now he had just been badly humiliated. Everybody enjoy yourself. I'm off, said Holy Emperor Qin, rolling up his sleeves. Then he left, also furious. After Holy Emperor Qin, Holy Emperor Tianxi also left. 3 days later, everybody left. The hall was just empty. Holy Emperor Ling was annoyed. What was Lin Feng thinking? Even people outside who had come to watch were annoyed. What was going on? When everybody calmed down on the 4th day, a terrifying beast landed in the Qin dynasty. It was dozens of meters tall. It could crush people with 1 foot. It went through the Qin dynasty and destroyed all their buildings. But it didn't kill anyone. Many people were panic-stricken. The Qin dynasty used their full strength to attack that beast by surprise. But nobody could compete with it. Each time the beast punched someone, they died. The beast looked for Holy Emperor Qin, and it stared at him with its gigantic eyes. It looked excited. Master, what do you want from the Qin dynasty? Asked Holy Emperor Qin when he realized how terrifying that beast was. The gigantic beast didn't reply. Holy Emperor Qin felt pressured. The gigantic beast then threw his hand at Holy Emperor Qin. He wanted to dodge, but he had no time. He coughed up blood, his eyes rolled, and he fell onto the ground. Chapter 2432. Rolling up his sleeves and leaving. Master, why? Why are you doing this? Asked Holy Emperor Qin, crawling back up. He didn't understand why that beast had attacked the Qin dynasty. The gigantic beast spat out qi, but didn't say anything. He raised his hand and threw it out again. Holy Emperor Qin wanted to dodge, but he couldn't move because of the oppressive strength. Rumbling sounds spread in the air, and he crashed onto the ground hard, forming a crater. Blood splashed. The beast continued attacking. Boom, boom, boom. The beast continued punching him. All the members of the dynasty didn't understand. Why was that beast attacking their holy emperor? The Qin holy emperor had never felt so humiliated. He was still coughing up blood. He suddenly flew away, trying to leave the dynasty. He quickly realized that the beast was attacking him and nobody else. Why? asked Holy Emperor Qin. His bones were all broken. He wanted to escape, but the beast was much faster than him. The beast continued punching him, or squashing him with his feet. How humiliating! Holy Emperor Qin had never felt this way before. He was going insane. Had he offended a terrifying cultivator? Lin Feng. Holy Emperor Qin was frightened. Was this happening because he hadn't waited for Lin Feng? But Lin Feng had done that on purpose. What was he supposed to do? Wait forever? The Tianxi dynasty is there. Holy Emperor Qin turned around and saw two people in the distance, a big one and a small one. When he saw them clearly, his face paled. Those two figures were Holy Emperor Tianxi and a gigantic beast. He wasn't the only one who was going through this. Holy Emperor Qin! Shouted Holy Emperor Tianxi. His face was deathly pale. When he saw that Holy Emperor Qin was going through the same thing as him, he was stunned. Let's go to the Holy Spirit dynasty. Only they can save us. Shouted Holy Emperor Qin to Holy Emperor Tianxi suddenly. Yes, let's go to the Holy Spirit dynasty. What a humiliation for us, two dynasties' leaders, agreed Holy Emperor Tianxi. He felt wretched and miserable. I feel the same, damn, said Holy Emperor Qin. He even had tears in his eyes. How miserable for two dynasties' leaders. They flew towards the Holy Spirit dynasty as fast as they could. But on the way, the beasts continued humiliating them and hitting them. Their clothes were torn apart. They both had a running nose and sniffled, with tears in their eyes. On the way, some people saw them. They were astonished. Those two people were dynasties' leaders, and those two beasts were making them cry. They looked truly miserable. Many people even had compassion for them. Poor leaders. Holy Spirit dynasty were there. Holy Emperor Qin looked like he had hope again when he saw the Holy Spirit dynasty. Were the beasts finally going to stop humiliating them? Those beasts had even put their dirty feet on their faces. Their noses were even broken. Boom. Holy Emperor Tianxi and Holy Emperor Qin wanted to enter the Holy Spirit dynasty, but they collided with a light curtain. Their faces became even paler. Thunder rumbled behind him. The gigantic beasts drew closer. It's a seal. Holy Emperor Qin's face was deathly pale. Behind the light curtain was Holy Emperor Ling. Holy Emperor Qin said, Holy Emperor Ling, let us come in. I thought you didn't want to stay here, Holy Emperor Qin? Why did you come back? Asked Holy Emperor Ling indifferently. I want to keep the appointment. I want to keep the appointment, said Holy Emperor Qin, forcing himself to smile. But when he said that, he raised his head and saw a gigantic stinky foot move towards his face again. He wanted to dodge, but heavy strength oppressed him and squashed his face. The beast wiped his foot on his face. Holy Emperor Qin's pale face turned red. He looked at Holy Emperor Ling and said, Holy Emperor Ling, I was wrong. I offended you. I'm so sorry. I want to keep the appointment. Please let me back in. After you left, we cancelled the banquet. We're not receiving guests anymore. Sorry, said Holy Emperor Ling indifferently. Holy Emperor Qin's face paled again. The gigantic beast squashed Holy Emperor Qin's face again. Holy Emperor Qin crashed onto the ground and crawled back up on his knees. Holy Emperor Qin, what are you doing? You're a holy emperor. I can't stand seeing you like this. If you really insist, I'll go and see Lin Feng, said Holy Emperor Ling sighed. Holy Emperor Qin wanted to kill Lin Feng so bad. So he was the one who had sent those evil creatures. Thank you so much, said Holy Emperor Qin standing up. However, Holy Emperor Ling didn't move. He just giggled and looked at him. Holy Emperor Qin's face turned even paler. He realized something. What banquet? Lin Feng had done this on purpose. If I don't kneel down, the beast will squash my face again, thought Holy Emperor Qin, realizing what was going on. He felt so miserable and pathetic, but it was the truth, the sad and cruel truth. He had joined hands with the shrine hoping they would kill Lin Qiongsheng. And now Lin Feng was back, and he wanted to get his revenge. And now, even if Lin Feng destroyed his dynasty, he wouldn't be able to do much about it. How tragic, how humiliating. Lin Feng, I will definitely see you die someday, shouted Holy Emperor Qin inside. He knew he couldn't surpass Lin Feng, but he hoped he would die, and then it would be the Holy Spirit dynasty's judgment day. Boom boom. When the Tianxi dynasty's holy emperor saw that Holy Emperor Qin was kneeling down, he did the same. He had also had conflicts with Lin Feng back in the days. Lin Feng hadn't destroyed their dynasties entirely. He had just humiliated them. On that day, the atmosphere outside of the Holy Spirit dynasty got very busy. Leaders of universities and other powerful groups came and begged to see Lin Feng. All those strong cultivators gathered there. But Lin Feng didn't show up. Holy Emperor Ling went to Lin Feng's courtyard, raised his head and heard Lin Feng's voice. Holy Emperor, I'm leaving those bestial saints here. They will protect the Holy Spirit dynasty. If anything happens, you can give them orders. I'm off. He just heard Lin Feng, but didn't see him. You're free and unrestrained. A group of strong cultivators is waiting outside, and you're leaving it to me, said Holy Emperor Ling, shaking his head and smiling wryly. Lin Feng didn't feel like wasting his time with those people. If he wanted, he could kill them in a flash. But he didn't. He just wanted everybody in Qi Tian Holy Town to remember him, and to know that the Holy Spirit dynasty was powerful. And he didn't even show up. Lin Feng, I'm sure people will remember you for a very, very long time in the continent of the 9 clouds, replied Holy Emperor Ling, before turning around and slowly walking away. He arrived outside, where the ceiling strength had already disappeared. The beasts looked at the sky. They were half-bestial saints from the starry sky world. Their leader had asked them to protect the Holy Spirit dynasty. Lin Feng said he didn't want to see you. Please leave, said Holy Emperor Ling, waving his hand. Those people's faces paled, they were terrified. The leader of the university who had burst into anger the previous time shuddered with fear. Holy Emperor Ling, please help us and tell him we wish we could see him. Yes, please, Holy Emperor Ling, said Holy Emperor Qin. He had the impression the beast would squash his face any time again with his dirty feet. Holy Emperor Ling had cold sweats. He looked at the gigantic beasts and said, Masters, please come back in. Yes, we have received orders from our master, the beasts replied. They shrank down and entered the Holy Spirit dynasty. All right, everybody, please go back, said Holy Emperor Ling. Those people glanced at one another and asked Holy Emperor Ling, Really? Really? Holy Emperor Ling nodded. Thank you very much, said Holy Emperor Qin and the others, standing up. They turned around and left as fast as they could. They felt so humiliated. When they left, flames of fury appeared in their eyes. Holy Emperor Ling understood that, but he didn't care anymore. Those beasts could protect the Holy Spirit dynasty. It was difficult to imagine how strong Lin Feng would become within 1,000 or even 10,000 years. Chapter 2433. Treasure Hall in the Imperial Court of the Continent of the 9 Clouds. In the Fortune Shrine, there were gigantic mountains and waterfalls coming from the sky. They were magnificent and grandiose. Lin Feng was walking in the Fortune Shrine. Many people looked at him in surprise. They smiled and said, Brother Lin Feng. Lin Feng also replied and smiled back. Even though many things had happened in the Fortune Shrine because of him, he rarely spent time with the others. He only spent time with the diviner. Lin Feng, you're back, said an old man walking past Lin Feng and smiling. Yes, I'm back, Lin Feng smiled. He didn't recognize anyone, but they all recognized him. Lin Feng slowly walked towards a waterfall. At the top of the waterfall, there was a figure, graceful and elegant. She smiled broadly when she saw him. Meng Qing, said Lin Feng. He flew up in the air and landed next to Meng Qing. He stretched his arms and caressed her wan and sallow face. He smiled gently and said, Silly girl. Meng Qing laughed and said nothing. She put her head on Lin Feng's shoulder, and her eyes turned red. You left for so long, don't do that again, whispered Meng Qing. Lin Feng felt guilty. He nodded and said, I will always take you with me in the future. You said it, said Meng Qing, raising her head and smiled softly. Indeed, Lin Feng nodded. They both sat down on a gigantic stone and gazed into the distance. The landscapes were incredible here. Any news from Zhetian? Asked Lin Feng. No. I don't know where he is. He has the same personality as you back in the days. Like father, like son, Lin Feng grinned. But while you were away all those years, many things happened to the Fortune Shrine. The continent of the 9 Clouds is now in a state of chaos. More and more shrines want to fight against the Fortune Shrine, and the shrines are also starting to fight for supremacy. During times of prosperity, people don't really fight over territories that much. But now that the world is in a state of chaos, resources are scarce and influential groups start fighting over territories. All the influential groups want to gain some mysterious worlds, or places where there are precious things. They want to use resources for geniuses, so the competition is even more fierce. Lin Feng understood that. If the Fortune Shrine controlled a city, it meant that the resources in that city also belonged to the Fortune Shrine. And whenever new geniuses appeared in that city, then the Fortune Shrine could also recruit them. When the world was in a state of chaos, it lasted for thousands and thousands of years. The situation couldn't be solved from one day to another, so the shrines had to do their best. So anyway, what I wanted to say is 7 years ago, the Fortune Shrine decided to recruit core disciples every 10 years. The core disciples can then all compete, no matter what their cultivation level is. Your friends Ho Qing Lin, Junimo Shi, and someone else came back. They want to try and become core disciples in the Fortune Shrine. Lin Feng smiled. You saw Brother Ho and Junimo Shi? Yes, they came to see you, but then they found out you weren't here, said Meng Qing nodding. How are they doing? Asked Lin Feng. Very good. In 3 years, you'll be able to see them, said Meng Qing smiling. Great, in 3 years then, Lin Feng nodded. He grabbed Meng Qing's hand and said, Come, I want to take you somewhere. Meng Qing was curious. They walked towards an ancient palace. They both entered the cultivation room. Lin Feng waved his hand, and a praying mat appeared. Let's go in. Lin Feng and Meng Qing stepped onto the praying mat. Lights flashed and they both disappeared, quickly reappearing in the starry sky world. Meng Qing was stupefied when she saw the landscapes. This wasn't Lin Feng's world. Where are we? Asked Meng Qing. A god's world, Lin Feng smiled. Meng Qing, I disappeared for a few years because I was stuck in a forbidden territory. You probably know about that. Then, I found the godly graves god's historical remains, this starry sky world. This world was created by a god. The news that many people came out of the historical remains quickly spread. There are also many strong cultivators from other worlds. Everybody knows about that now. I would never have thought it all happened because you obtained the god's world, answered Meng Qing, smiling sweetly. It meant that the god had chosen Lin Feng as an heir. Let's go. There are many places here. I don't even know what to do with all these places, said Lin Feng. Their figures flickered, and they went to a few ancient star palaces. Lin Feng and Meng Qing entered one of them. Dazzling lights surrounded Meng Qing, which made her shiver. There are saints' weapons everywhere. Meng Qing was stunned. There were saints' weapons everywhere. Blades, spears, swords, halberds, axes, bows and arrows, whips, armors, gourds, rainbow cups. It was incredible. The palace was filled with treasures. Those are saints' weapons the god obtained back in the days. He practiced cultivation for a very long time, and obtained many saints' weapons. The saints' weapons in this palace are all the best low-level saints' weapons you can find. In the other rooms, you can find medium-level saints' weapons, high-level saints' weapons, peerless saints' weapons, but I can only enter 2 rooms. I'll take you to the second one, Lin Feng told Meng Qing. He took her to another room. An incredible energy filled the air there. There were even more saints' weapons, all of them dazzling. In the outside world, people would go insane for them. He could only tell Meng Qing about them. He didn't even tell his teachers about them. People were envious. He had given his teachers many things, but not as incredible as these things, because he didn't want enemies to kill his teachers to steal their weapons. Meng Qing, choose a weapon you want, said Lin Feng, smiling at her. Everything he had in life, he wanted to share with Meng Qing. Meng Qing and his friends were strong enough. He wanted to help them all become stronger. I can't use saints' weapons, I'm too weak, so I'll choose one for defense so that you don't need to worry about me, she agreed. Alright, choose something to protect your physical body and soul. When you become a saint, you'll choose some for attacks, he told her. He didn't need Meng Qing to become incredibly strong and reach the clouds. He just wanted her to be safe. He could do the rest himself. Meng Qing chose a soft armor and a saint's soul sword. The sword could protect her when someone attacked her soul. So even if a saint attacked her by surprise, she wouldn't die. Don't spoil just me. Give some to the others too. They're all in your small world, aren't they? She prodded him. I will go and see them. My world is becoming more and more perfect. They like calm and tranquility. This world is dangerous, so I will ask them, said Lin Feng smiling. Yes, respect is the most important thing, Meng Qing agreed. Let's go. I'll take you to a place perfect to practice cultivation, said Lin Feng, dragging her along. They soon arrived in a cultivation palace. Meng Qing, this place is perfect to study celestial Dao strength. It's perfect to try and break through to the Sheng layer. You should practice here for a while, he said to her. All right, but don't worry if I don't manage to break through to the Sheng layer, said Meng Qing. They both smiled. She started meditating, and Lin Feng went to another room. It was good to practice cultivation too, but it was also suitable to practice special saint spells, as it helped saints improve their fighting abilities. Lin Feng controlled several types of original strength. He wanted to become stronger and increase his fighting abilities. He was a low-level saint now, and he wanted to have no enemy at the same cultivation level. Chapter 2434. Together Lin Feng entered the palace, and some intent surrounded him. It was a mysterious world. The place was dark, and Lin Feng couldn't see much, even with his godly awareness. However, at that moment, some light appeared and illuminated the space around him. After that, a second light appeared, and a third one. The lights kept twinkling on. Millions of lights appeared. The space around him turned into a starlit sky. The stars were dazzling. Some kind of intent. Lin Feng was surprised. All the stars seemed to be changing every second. It was an incredible sight. However, at that moment, all the stars disappeared, and the space became dark again. It made Lin Feng feel uncomfortable, as it lasted for a while. Lin Feng sat down cross-legged patiently. Since that palace aimed at improving cultivators' fighting abilities, he didn't mind being patient and staying there for a while. Suddenly, the lights appeared again. Lin Feng had the impression those lights were as sharp as blades in his eyes, so he closed them. It was very difficult to describe how he felt. The first kind of strength is accumulation. The second type is explosiveness. The goal is to accumulate strength until it becomes explosive, like the god's sword, murmured Lin Feng. The intent in the space around him changed again, as it attracted star original strength. Finally, Lin Feng saw the intent invade the space around him, as a kind of finger attack. One finger seemed like it could move through space and time. It contained an endless number of dazzling lights, and also contained destructive strength. Only that finger was left in the space around. Some explosive strength made the space look even darker. It absorbed all the dazzling lights around. The stars condensed into that finger. It was impossible to escape from it. Lin Feng had the impression he was hallucinating. That attack pierced through him. Even if his eyes were closed, he still had the impression the attack had pierced through his brain. It gave him chills. That one finger uses star original strength, similar to light and space original strength. That attack is so powerful. Even though the ruler's sword attack was powerful, it didn't use original strength in such a perfect way. That kind of finger technique can improve my ruler's sword attack. He was meditating calmly. He started using his ruler's sword. He made it condense again, trying to make it as explosive as possible. After Lin Feng finished studying, he went to another room. They each contained different sorts of intent. He visualized different sorts of saints' techniques. Lin Feng had the impression he was becoming much more erudite quickly. He was amazed by the power of original strength. He was focused and enjoyed learning. 3 years passed extremely quickly. It felt like minutes for Lin Feng. He went to see Meng Qing, and they left the star world. How do you feel? Asked Lin Feng to Meng Qing. I learned so much. I think I could become a saint soon, replied Meng Qing happily. You must have progressed a lot during those 3 years, right? Yes, I studied several things. I understand original strength even better. I understand what I have to do to increase my own saint's techniques now, he replied. During those 3 years, he had indeed progressed a lot. The god saint's techniques must be incredible. Yes, I saw a technique where he just stretched his arm out, and he could pick up the sun, the moon, and the stars. Nothing could stop him. It was incredible, Lin Feng sighed. He had seen such an attack in the past. The two strong cultivators of the giant god's clan had such an attack, but it was much weaker than the god's own. Lin Feng, you're back, said someone at that moment. Lin Feng was startled and smiled at Meng Qing and told her, I'll go and see the diviner. All right, she assented. Lin Feng sped off, and quickly arrived in another ancient palace. It was also a starry sky world. Master, Lin Feng said to the diviner, you went to the godly grave, and a few decades later, you came out, and you were a low-level saint already. Your cultivation speed is astonishing, said the diviner, smiling at Lin Feng gently. But don't be too proud. The world is in a state of chaos. Many terrifyingly strong people travel the world. I found some people whose cultivation speeds were terrifying as well, and I recruited them. I understand. At my cultivation level, cultivation speed is not the most important thing. We have to see how strong someone can get in the end, said Lin Feng calmly. No, you're wrong. If the world wasn't in a state of chaos, you would be right. But now the world is different, speed is extremely important. You might be more talented than someone else, but if they reach a higher cultivation level than yours more quickly, then you're doomed. If the fortune shrine doesn't raise geniuses quickly enough, we'll be doomed, said the diviner. Lin Feng's heart twitched. Who is stronger these days? Asked Lin Feng. The situation is too chaotic, we can't be sure. Anyway, everybody is very nervous, and every day, every year, everything changes. But all of this has nothing to do with you. Lin Feng, I hope that you will become a high-level saint as soon as possible. Of course. I also hope you'll become a peerless saint someday. Before that happens, you don't need to fight against the other shrines directly. Only high-level saints can help? Asked Lin Feng, smiling wryly. Indeed. Great emperors represent the lower strata. High-level saints are the pillars, because they are the only ones who can keep the situation under control. Regarding battles to death, peerless saints control the whole situation. And we haven't reached that point yet. The star priest of the Fortune Shrine, a peerless saint, has already started recruiting disciples. Do you know what that means? It means that the situation of the continent of the 9 clouds will change thoroughly. Maybe another great war like long ago will take place. Yes, people in the future will maybe consider our war to be like the war of the ancient days. Usually, our peerless star priest practices cultivation to try and become a god. But now, he's recruiting disciples. The peerless saints of the other shrines are doing the same. Lin Feng nodded. The situation was becoming serious. Anyway, don't worry about those things. Right now you can't battle, or at least, you can't participate as Lin Feng. You can use another face and chi to participate. Your fate is more important than the fate of 100 people. You need to become a high-level saint as quickly as possible, so that we can use you in battles. I understand, Lin Feng said firmly. I won't put pressure on you. You know what to do. Go to Fortune City. Your friends are back, said the diviner, smiling at him. My friends are back. Lin Feng looked surprised. Do you think they have the potential to become core disciples? Yes, said the diviner agreeably. Lin Feng was pleasantly surprised, so he left immediately. He left the palace and descended from the sky, releasing his godly awareness to inspect the area. Many people raised their heads in Fortune City, sensing something. Ho Qinglin and Jun Emoshi sensed it too. They raised their heads, and Ho Qinglin said, "What a terrifying godly awareness strength. That's someone from the shrine." People in Fortune City are all members of the Fortune Shrine. Jun Emoshi laughed. "Half," said Ho Qinglin smiling. At that moment, a voice said to them telepathically, "Brother Ho Jun Emoshi." Lin Feng. Ho Qinglin was astonishing. He raised his head and saw Lin Feng descending from the sky, grinning broadly. "How come you're together?" asked Lin Feng, smiling at the two of them. He landed on the ground next to them. Ho Qinglin's chi was strange. When looking at his eyes, one had the impression one could drown in space and time. Jun Emoshi's chi was ice cold. One didn't dare get close to him. "We bumped into each other while traveling. I almost died. Jun Emoshi saved me." Ho Qinglin smiled. "Nah, it's not true. I almost died. But anyway, We were lucky to find one another. If we hadn't, we would not have today's cultivation level, said Junemo. She smiled. You both became saints in such a short time. Good, said Lin Feng happily. Good. There's still a huge difference between us and you. Back in the days, during the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds, we were at the same level. Now we're too weak to stand next to you, protested Junemo. He had just sensed Lin Feng's terrifying godly awareness. He was still happy for him though. Chapter 2435. Reincarnation Priest. Lin Feng looked at Junemo and shook his head with a grin. I was lucky. You came to Fortune City to become core disciples, I heard. What kind of exam do you have to take? The continent of the 9 clouds is in a state of chaos, so the exam will be a bit different. Every 10 years, there will be a round, and the Fortune Shrine will recruit core disciples. People of all cultivation levels will have the opportunity to participate, and the exam will be different depending on the different cultivation levels. In any case, it will be extremely difficult. We will do our best. I hope we'll have the opportunity to become core disciples like you. Junemo smiled. During the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds, they had failed. Such opportunities were rare. Yes, it's difficult to understand the shrines if you don't become core disciples. This time, I hope we will succeed, said Ho Qing Lin solemnly. When is the exam going to take place? Asked Lin Feng. In 70 days, replied Ho Qing Lin. All right, I'll take you somewhere first then. I think it'll help you become stronger, said Lin Feng, smiling at his 2 friends. Ho Qing Lin and Junemo, were curious when they arrived in a secret cultivation room. It was isolated from the world. Lin Feng took Junemo and Ho Qing Lin out to the star world. Junemo and Ho Qing Lin were some of his best friends. Lin Feng wanted to help them become stronger. He also wanted to give them some medium-level saints' weapons. They were already saints, so they could use medium-level saints' weapons, even if they couldn't make the most out them. Before the exam started, Ho Qing Lin and Junemo left the star world, arriving in front of an illusory castle. It was similar to Fortune City, when Lin Feng had gone there from the small world. Someone took Ho Qing Lin and Junemo into the castle while Lin Feng and the diviner stood aside. They were at the top of a mountain range, and could see everything. Master, that's... Lin Feng glanced at a mountain. A waterfall coming from the sky flowed onto it. There were some old people there, their eyes closed. There were many people seated next to them, all looking down at the castle. People who organized the exam choose core disciples. Lin Feng, if you wish, you can also choose disciples, the diviner told him. That'd only harm the younger generation, said Lin Feng, shaking his head. He preferred focusing on cultivation. He didn't feel like teaching. The exam is starting, whispered the diviner. Lin Feng was staring at Ho Qing Lin and Junemo. They were in the same place as some other saints who had entered the castle with them. It was a vast hilly place. Many ordinary disciples of the Fortune Shrine were hiding there. They were guarding. The examinees had to break through them to move on to the next round. They're all disciples who have just become saints. So many people are hiding. Breaking through must be difficult, murmured Lin Feng. Becoming a core disciple is indeed not easy, said the diviner softly. Ho Qing Lin, Junemo and the others started moving forwards. The hills and hiding places were not real. They were made of saints' strength, and breaking them was impossible. So resorting to trickery was impossible too. They have to break through, and then cross a tunnel. They all have to go through 8 blockades, said the diviner. Very quickly, Ho Qing Lin arrived in front of his first opponent. Their battle was explosive. Ho Qing Lin's reincarnation strength was incredible. He kept moving forwards with an indomitable will. Flinching wasn't part of his vocabulary. Even if his opponent was extremely strong, Ho Qing Lin's reincarnation strength could defeat them. Your friend is an insane fighter, the diviner observed. Back then, when we hadn't broken through to the Huangqi layer yet, he said being insane was a necessity to become an emperor. Even though he has an exceptional talent and a distinguished appearance, his fighting method has never changed. He's always been crazy, laughed Lin Feng. Ho Qing Lin's fighting abilities were indeed impressive. Even if Ho Qing Lin was injured, He wanted to make his opponents drown in reincarnation strength. Nobody dared risk their life against him. Very quickly, he defeated his first opponent. Junemo Shi also faced his first opponent. Their fight was straightforward and explosive. They had a close combat. Imperial immortal body. He looks like a king of hell, the diviner observed. At the same cultivation level, even if someone can defeat him, it's almost impossible to kill him unless the enemy has some sort of special power. The guards aren't strong enough, otherwise it would be difficult for them to move on, noted Lin Feng. Haha, you mean we should have sent core disciples who were low-level saints? That would have been extremely difficult and unfair. After all, they aren't core disciples yet. We can't only test their fighting abilities, we also need to test their intent. Ho Qinglin and Junemo Shi made great efforts and passed the test of the first round. Brother Ho is on the right path to create a perfect saint's technique. When he succeeds, his attacks will be even more terrifying, Lin Feng pointed out. You noticed that too? Indeed, that kind of saint's technique is great, agreed the diviner. Among the people who had just become saints, there were 28 contestants. The majority of them were people from Fortune City, at lower cultivation levels. Among people who weren't saints yet, there were many contestants, yet only 12 people passed the first exam. Junemo Shi and Ho Qinglin continued on, arriving in an illusory place. Lin Feng didn't understand what kind of exam it was. After this, their obsessiveness will be tested. It will be extremely difficult. During this part, some people will be badly injured, some of them will even die. That's scary. Lin Feng's face stiffened. Yes, we will see how determined they are. Many people are talented and good at fighting. However, intent is rare and crucial, replied the diviner grimly. The examinees continued walking in the illusion. Nothing happened. But Lin Feng knew it was going to be difficult. An hour passed and someone suddenly groaned with pain and coughed up blood, his face deathly pale. Lin Feng's heart twitched, noting that person was injured. Very quickly, a second person was injured. He moved back and left, giving up. Half a day passed. And of the 12 people, 7 people were injured or gave up. Only 5 persevered. As expected, it's very difficult. Lin Feng's face stiffened. Ho Qinglin continued moving forwards, bathing in reincarnation lights. Many shadows appeared around him. What's that? Lin Feng was astonished. Worlds of reincarnation appeared around Ho Qinglin. Good little boy. He's very determined. He can even improve his own natural abilities like that, said the diviner. His eyes twinkled. An old man at the foot of the waterfall suddenly opened his eyes and looked at Ho Qinglin. I want that one to become my disciple. The other old men nodded. They didn't try to steal him away. The diviner looked happy and said, Lin Feng, your friend is definitely going to become a core disciple, and he's extremely lucky. Who's that master? Asked Lin Feng. A senior official of the Fortune Shrine, who hasn't shown up for tens of thousands of years. He is the reincarnation priest. Tens of thousands of years ago, he was already a peerless saint. Then, the continent of the 9 clouds became chaotic, and our leader had him come back. Ho Qinglin is going to become his disciple. That's an extraordinary opportunity for him. The diviner beamed. You know what peerless means? The reincarnation priest has made several sorts of special original strengths fused together to become a peerless saint, asked Lin Feng. He became peerless thanks to the 6 great karma wheel divisions, the diviner beamed. Lin Feng was impressed. His fellow disciple was going to have an incredible opportunity, indeed. The second round is about transcending worldliness, getting rid of the self. The third round is going to be easy for him. Everything will happen naturally, said the diviner. Ho Qinglin, as expected, left the castle easily. He looked around at the crowd, seemingly surprised. Fellow disciple, congratulations, said Lin Feng to Ho Qinglin telepathically. At that moment, Ho Qinglin didn't understand. His facial expression was funny. Come here, the reincarnation priest said to Ho Qinglin. Ho Qinglin looked at him. Lin Feng said to him telepathically, Brother, he's a peerless saint of the Fortune Shrine. Go. Ho Qinglin was surprised and slowly walked towards the old man. He bowed and said, Greetings, master. Would you like to become my disciple? asked the old man, smiling at Ho Ching Lin. Ho Ching Lin was stupefied. He said, I have 2 teachers, they're like fathers to me. I can't have another teacher. Lin Feng was astonished but then smiled. Brother Ho was the same old Brother Ho, he hadn't changed. All right, you refuse to forget your former teachers, even when facing someone like me. Come with me, I won't force you, said the reincarnation priest. He was a bit annoyed when Ho Ching Lin had refused, but he also admired and appreciated such people. Ho Ching Lin was a good person. Thank you very much, master, said Ho Ching Lin, bowing deeply. He glanced at Lin Feng, and then entered the fortune shrine with the reincarnation priest. Chapter 2436. Support needed in Du City. Only 3 people passed the exam, at the level of new saints. After Ho Ching Lin, Jun Emoshi also passed. He was extremely determined. The diviner thought highly of both of them. They had very different personalities. Ho Ching Lin was crazy, while Jun Emoshi was determined. Teachers noticed the mother too, but they weren't as lucky as Ho Ching Lin. No Peerless saint wanted to recruit them as disciples, so they left with high-level saints. The difference between saints of different levels was incredible. The difference between someone who had just become a saint and a high-level saint was gigantic. Therefore, they were happy anyway. There are so many great emperors, their exam lasts much longer. But 10 people at most will become core disciples, murmured the diviner, looking over the great emperors. The majority of them are geniuses from Fortune City, and the passing rate is still so low. 10 disciples in a year. The exam is so difficult, whispered Lin Feng. At the scale of the imperial court of the continent of the 9 clouds, 10 years are nothing. Even 100 years are nothing. It's a great opportunity for many people. The diviner smiled. Lin Feng nodded. At his cultivation level, 10 years were really short. Sometimes he could practice cultivation and meditate in seclusion for a few years, and it felt as if a few days had passed. Some old members of the Fortune Shrine sometimes practice cultivation for tens of thousands of years. Lin Feng, in the imperial court of the continent of the 9 clouds, the Fire Shrine and the Empty Space Shrine keep oppressing us. They want to steal Du City from us. We've already sent 3 high-level saints to protect it. However, the 2 shrines are determined too. They sent 4 high-level saints, 18 low-level saints, 36 half-saints, and an army of great emperors. They sent such a terrifying army for a city? Lin Feng was astonished. When 2 shrines joined hands, things became even scarier. The shrines weren't fighting in one city only. There were explosive battles everywhere. The shrines had probably asked all their saints to come back for battles. They were getting ready for a great war. Indeed, the battles aren't happening in the shadows. The battles are now in the open, and they're growing in size. For example, in the past, we used to try and keep Fortune City under control. Of course, we were interested in surrounding cities, especially big ones, but now all the shrines are trying to conquer new cities, especially those in which there are influential groups. Du City is an extraordinary city. It's situated in the middle of the Fortune Shrine, the Fire Shrine and the Empty Space Shrine. Many geniuses come from that city. Many of them have become powerful and influential. Many shrines' disciples are from Du City. Some influential groups in Du City are extremely powerful. Therefore, I hope we won't lose it, said the diviner grimly. Lin Feng understood. They needed to fight on all fronts. The battles were going to last for a long time, and they needed much energy. At the same time, they needed to be resistant. They needed to be able to survive until the end. Master, how may I help? Said Lin Feng. We don't have enough fighters. Apart from the strong cultivators who are in the Fortune Shrine most of the time, we also called all our strong cultivators back. We had never done that before. But even like that, we don't have enough fighters, the diviner said to Lin Feng. Last time, I told you, Peerless saints would only get involved in the end. When they fight, it will be the end of the chaotic era. Now we're competing slowly, and high-level saints are at the core of the battles. Therefore, I hope you can become a high-level saint as soon as possible. At the level of high-level saints, our fighters have the advantage in Du City, but our half-saints and low-level saints are facing difficulties. I need you to use another identity, and go to Diyu City to help. But first, let's wait for the 3 new recruits to become strong enough. Then you'll take them there. No problem. But how long will my fellow disciple and Junemo she need before being able to go to Diyu City? Replied Lin Feng. Don't worry about that. The battles over the big cities will not end in a few years. Besides, I already told the fighters I dispatched not to fight. They can waste some time like that. We won't lose quickly that way. However, it also means that our enemies will send more and more strong cultivators there. They will have the advantage. And when you go there, things will be even more difficult. But at that moment, if we send people who can compete with all of them, we won't let any of them escape. Quality is better than quantity. That's why we're not afraid of waiting. I understand. Lin Feng nodded. At the level of saints, even if some people lost, it didn't necessarily mean their enemies could kill them, unless there was a huge level difference between them. You go back. When they're ready, I'll tell you. All right, Lin Feng agreed. He left and headed to his own palace. The diviner was in charge of establishing the military strategies of the Fortune Shrine. The Peerless Saints didn't seem to be doing anything. Lin Feng was wondering just how strong the leader of the Fortune Shrine was. And even though he was the leader, could he compete with the other Peerless Saints of the Fortune Shrine? He didn't know yet. Lin Feng didn't go far. He practiced cultivation calmly. He wanted to reach the next step of his god level. A year quickly passed, and the diviner came to him and told him to change his face. He took him to meet Jun Emoshi and Ho Qing Lin. They're coming too? Asked Lin Feng. There were great emperors around. They had also passed the previous exam. Yes, they are core disciples now. Take them to Diyu City. After that, let Saint Qingyi organize everything, said the diviner. All right. Lin Feng nodded and said to Ho Qing Lin and Jun Emoshi telepathically, fellow disciple, Emoshi, it's me. I need to hide my real identity. Call me Mu Lin now. The two were surprised, but then they understood that if the shrines knew he was Lin Feng, they would encircle him and kill him. I transmitted you the location and map of Diyu City. You can go, said the diviner patiently. All right. Lin Feng waved, and an ancient boat appeared. It was a medium-level saint's weapon, and its speed was incredible. It was perfect for the occasion. Let's go, said Lin Feng. The group of people jumped into the boat and rapidly left. The diviner watched them leave and smiled. Qingyi, that's all I can do for you. I hope you'll claim Diyu City. Diyu City was gigantic, and there were many incredible clans there. One of them was the Yi clan. However, the Yi clan had been completely destroyed. Only ruins were left. That's the Yi clan? When the group of people flew above the Yi clan in the boat, they were startled, as they only saw ruins. Yes, this is the place the diviner marked on the map. Something must have happened, murmured Lin Feng. A figure came out of the ruins and challenged them. Where do you come from? Who are you? Challenged Lin Feng sharply. You recognize this? Asked the person. His third eye twinkled. It looked like a fortune star. Lin Feng and the others recognized it. A Fortune Shrine's disciple. Lin Feng and the others' third eyes also twinkled. That person nodded and said, You came to help, right? The Yi clan was attacked by surprise. Come with me. All right, said Lin Feng and the others. Lin Feng asked, How bad are the losses? The battles here are direct. They know we're everywhere here. So they don't try and hide. They attack directly, mostly relying on strength. We suffered severe losses. 3 of our saints died. We also lost many great emperors. It's a tragedy. The Yi clan is completely destroyed. Lin Feng and the others took a deep breath. The Yi clan had been completely destroyed. That was a tragedy indeed. How is the Fortune Shrine's disciple who's also from the Yi clan? He escaped. He feels desperate. He wants to kill the enemies. They destroyed the Yi clan because they didn't want us to have a place to stay here. They destroyed the Yi clan as an example to others, thought Lin Feng. How tragic. They had directly destroyed the Yi clan. Chapter 2437. Counterattack. The strong cultivators of the Fortune Shrine used the Yi clan as a headquarters, because a member of the Yi clan was also a core disciple of the Fortune Shrine. The Fire Shrine, and the empty space shrine had decided to destroy the Yi clan to show all other clans that they better cut off ties with the fortune shrine. When the Yi clan was destroyed, Lin Feng and the others were already on their way. The strong cultivators of the fortune shrine knew that, so they had one disciple hide in the ruins to receive them. The disciple took them to an ordinary yet large courtyard. It looked ordinary from the outside and didn't attract people's attention. Lin Feng sighed. The situation was difficult for the fortune shrine. A group of figures arrived. When they saw Lin Feng and the others, their eyes twinkled. But they looked desperate, a middle-aged man said. "You're the only ones who came?" Lin Feng was shocked. They were indeed only 4 saints. 3 of them were half-saints. No wonder the man was devastated and disappointed. These people wouldn't be able to change anything. "Yes, you know that the fortune shrine is under pressure. Only the 4 of us could come," replied Lin Feng. "Never mind. Let's go and see Officer Qingyi," said that person, turning around. During wartime, they called high-level saints officer. Saint Qingyi was thus an officer. The middle-aged man brought Lin Feng and the others to a building in the depths of the courtyard to talk. A few people were standing there. The leader of the group was a clean and elegant middle-aged man. He looked at Lin Feng and the others and asked, "Mu Lin?" "Greetings, Officer Qingyi," Lin Feng replied. "Mu Zhen, go in and tell them their tasks," Qingyi told the middle-aged man, pointing at the great emperors. "All right." Mu Zhen nodded and left to assign different tasks to the great emperors. "You saw what happened to the Yi clan. We don't have the advantage here. If they manage to kill us, they'll take control over Diyu City," said Qingyi to Lin Feng. "I'm touched and impressed you came at such a moment. But you have to be prepared psychologically. This war is very dangerous." "I understand," said Lin Feng. "It was a battle to death. Officer Qingyi, how many saints are left on our side here?" 3 high-level saints, they aren't injured. 7 low-level saints. 17 half-saints. And that's including you guys, said Qingyi to Lin Feng. "Our enemies have joined hands. They have 4 high-level saints, 18 low-level saints, and 36 half-saints. Has anything changed?" "Yes, they now control a few clans, who have already submitted. They also took some of their strong cultivators to make them participate in the battles," said Qingyi. "The enemies didn't have fewer fighters, they had even more." "I understand," said Lin Feng. "Why did the diviner only send 4 people? It would have been better not to send anyone at all," spoke up the woman next to Qingyi. She looked heroic and valiant in her armor, but also annoyed. She was initially very happy. She had thought the fortune shrine would send many strong cultivators. In the end, they had sent only 4 saints. "MOU. You know perfectly well how the situation of the fortune shrine is. Don't be angry, you're too old for that. Tell Mu Lin and the others more about the situation of the shrine," Qingyi ordered the woman. MOU nodded. Even though she was annoyed, she knew things were complicated for the shrine. "Come with me," MOU told Lin Feng and the others. They moved over in front of a golden map. It was a map of Diyu City. "Mu Lin, we're here now," said MOU, pointing at place on the map. Lin Feng's heart twitched. They were stuck in a corner. This territory is already occupied by the Fire Shrine and the Empty Space Shrine. Here, it's the Hong clan, here the Lung clan. They are present in those 9 places. They have probably dispatched great emperors everywhere in Diyu City. First, to see what's going everywhere, and second, because they are about to take control over the whole city. This map is small, so it's as if they had already taken over the whole city. But Diyu City is gigantic. They're still not all together in one place, said Lin Feng. The 9 places they occupy already have teleportation portals. They can teleport themselves everywhere in the twinkling of an eye. They also have many empty space deployment talismans. Therefore, they dispersed in 9 different places, because they know they can easily meet anywhere. So attacking them is useless, as they will directly converge and attack us, said MOU. No wonder with the empty space shrine, said Jun Emoshi. It didn't look good for them. We can do the same. Give me some time, and I'll make some teleportation deployment talismans, said Lin Feng. You can make teleportation talismans? Asked MOU. Yes, I can, said Lin Feng nodded. Making talismans was easy for him at his cultivation level. And he also controlled empty space type original strength. Therefore, his teleportation talismans were definitely going to be good. Good news then. If you can make teleportation talismans, even if they encircle us, if we use the talismans before they seal the area around us, we'll be fine. If we want to seal the area around them, they'll also use teleportation talismans immediately. No wonder. We didn't have the advantage from the beginning, thought Lin Feng. Mou showed them where they could stay. Lin Feng made some talismans for a few days. He gave them to everybody, relieving them greatly. They hadn't felt so assured for a while, but still, they couldn't gain the advantage. Mou, come with me, Lin Feng said to Mou. Her eyes twinkling, she followed Lin Feng. As they arrived in front of the golden map, Lin Feng showed her the Hong clan and said, "They have 18 low-level saints. They occupy 9 places, therefore, each of their places has around 2 low-level saints. Let's go and destroy one of their territories. We can only attack once by surprise. And if we do, they'll be very vigilant, they might even chase us." "It's a bad choice," said Mou, shaking her head. "Don't exaggerate. The 5 of us can go. That's more than enough," said Lin Feng. Mou was stupefied. "The 5 of us?" She glanced at Jun Moshi and Ho Qing Lin. If the 5 of them went, it'd be extremely dangerous, and they would definitely not be able to defeat their opponents. "Indeed, the 5 of us, you don't trust me," said Lin Feng to Mou. "It's not that, but we're such a small force we can't do anything," said Mou, frowning. "Let's try and see. Don't forget, we also have very powerful deployment talismans. You tried one. We can use them and leave instantly," said Lin Feng, smiled. "Don't worry. I am not going to put my life at stake recklessly." Mou was surprised. She looked at him and said, "All right, Mulin. What kind of strength do you control?" "It's quite complex to explain." "You?" asked Lin Feng. "Empty space sealing strength and world creation," replied Mou. Lin Feng's eyes twinkled as Mou continued talking. "But it's not very useful. We don't have many people, so our enemies won't let us escape. And if we aren't able to destroy them quickly, even if they're weaker than us, they'll call their friends, and they'll be there instantly, and then we'll be in danger. I know what to do, so just tell me, will you help or not?" asked Lin Feng, staring at Mou. Mou's eyes glittered and she nodded. "I'll try and help you." "All right, let's go to the Lung clan first," said Lin Feng. He turned around and started walking away. Mou hadn't thought Lin Feng would be so determined. She followed him and asked, "Why the Lung clan?" "There can never be too much subterfuge in war," said Lin Feng calmly. He left the building, and they flew into the air. After they left, 3 people appeared in the building, one of them Saint Qingyi. He watched them leave and smiled. "That's the boy all the shrines want. I wonder if he can prove himself on the battlefield of Du City." Maradeva had him come to Du City. He has something in mind. Maybe that is to pave the way for him, whispered the person next to him. They knew that Mulin was Lin Feng. Chapter 2438. Illusion Finger. The Lung clan was a clan in Du City. They were very strong. 2 people in the Lung clan were seated under a pavilion in the garden, playing chess. Some people were standing next to them and watching. "How long do you think we'll need to take over Du City?" asked a middle-aged man wearing a fire robe, while putting down his piece. "I'm sure it's feasible within 3 years, if they don't hide the whole time," replied his opponent. He was wearing fine golden clothes, and was also a middle-aged man. They were strong cultivators from the Empty Space Shrine and the Fire Shrine. The Lung clan was one of the territories they had taken over. "I bet we'll need less than 3 years," said the Fire Shrine saint. "Last time, we already taught them a good lesson. If we have another opportunity to do the same a second time, they'll leave of their own free will. I would prefer it if they stayed here forever," laughed the Empty Space Shrine's strong cultivator, laughing. He suddenly frowned and said, "There's sword chi." The Fire Shrine's strong cultivator also sensed it. His eyes glittered as he heard a sound in the distance. Sword lights flew past his shoulder. Breaking and snapping sounds spread in the air. The ancient palace next to them crackled. A fissure appeared, and with a loud roar, the palace exploded. A huge trail appeared on the ground leading right through it. Everybody, get ready to fight. Inform the other military bases and activate the teleportation portals, said someone coldly. They released their godly awareness as they rose up into the air. A few sword lights descended from the sky and moved in different directions. More fissures appeared on the ground. The saints in the sky looked furious. The fortune shrine was there to get their revenge? Only one person is attacking, said the fire shrine saint. Watch out and remain vigilant. Wait for the others to teleport here, and then we'll act together, said another cultivator. Very quickly, the deployment portals twinkled and figures appeared. Saint's strength filled the air. They moved forwards, but paused when they saw a figure in the sky. He was smiling icily as he said, "Scoundrels, members of the Lung clan, listen to me." The fire shrine and the empty space shrine decided to completely destroy the clan where the disciples of the fortune shrine were. They are cruel and decided to act with utter disregard for principles. We will definitely get our revenge. From now on, if you continue cooperating with them, we'll have no choice but to destroy you. Another sword light streaked across the sky, and a valley appeared through the very middle of the Lung clan. The crowd was astonished. What a disaster for them. The shrines were almost better off than those clans. Capture him. Some people flickered. They broke their deployment talismans and appeared around Lin Feng. However, at the same time, Lin Feng disappeared. All that remained was some pale undulating energy. Deployment talisman? The group of strong cultivators frowned in astonishment. One of them said, "Follow the empty space strength and chase him. He's alone." "I don't think he disappeared." The one who had just talked also disappeared, following Lin Feng. He reappeared somewhere else in the sky, but then frowned. The undulating strength seemed to be even farther, which meant Lin Feng was even farther away. He broke another deployment talisman. The group of people chased Lin Feng as fast as they could, but in the end, they still didn't find him. Inform the other bases and tell them to be careful. The Fortune Shrine is attacking us by surprise. Tell them the members of the Fortune Shrine also have teleportation deployment talismans, said a strong cultivator. Everybody started contacting other people. Even though they hadn't lost any cultivators, it made them feel very nervous, especially since the enemy had tried to scare the clans of Du City by saying they would destroy them if they collaborated with the Fire Shrine and the Empty Space Shrine. Very quickly, the saints of the Fire Shrine and the Empty Space Shrine received messages about what had happened in the Lung clan. They had been attacked by surprise, so they had to be careful. The sky of Du City turned rosy red. It was a beautiful sight. Outside of the Hong clan, a group was walking in the direction of the Hong clan. Some people were staring at them. Threads of godly awareness appeared in front of them as they asked the group icily, "Who are you?" "Fortune Shrine's members," said Lin Feng smiled. The person who had just asked him that looked shocked, but then threads of death intent pierced through his body, and he collapsed. More threads of godly awareness appeared, but Lin Feng also released his godly awareness, covering the sky of the Hong clan. "I'll be right back," said Lin Feng, breaking a deployment talisman. He reappeared somewhere else in the sky. Underneath him was a shimmering teleportation portal. A terrifying sword chi descended from the sky. Sword strength condensed all around him and slashed through the teleportation portal. "Stop him." A group of people moved towards Lin Feng. "Break!" shouted Lin Feng icily. He moved towards the teleportation portal, sword lights showering down. There was a loud explosion as the portal was blown apart. What a powerful attack! The guards were astonished. The teleportation portal was extremely resilient. Low-level saints couldn't break it, but he had. How scary. "World," said a voice icily. A gigantic light curtain appeared in the sky and surrounded the area. It was a sealing world strength. 5 people, 2 low-level saints. The group of strong cultivators glanced at the intruders and finally saw them clearly. They didn't use any deployment talismans. They used deployment talismans only when they faced enemies stronger than them. Since Lin Feng and the others weren't stronger, they didn't elect to escape. "Hong Dong Lu, you and I fight against him. You guys fight against the others," said an Empty Space Shrine's low-level saint, staring at Lin Feng. That guy's sword attacks were powerful. 2 low-level saints had to join hands to fight against him. He let the fire shrine's low-level saints fight against the woman. In total, there were 3 low-level saints and 6 half-saints there. Finish them as quickly as you can, said Lin Feng. Even though he had destroyed the teleportation portal, enemies could also come quickly. They had to fight and solve the issue fast. Lin Feng looked at Hong Donglu. That guy was probably a saint of the Hong clan, which meant that he was unlikely to be very strong. Lin Feng shot towards Hong Donglu, faster than the other would really believe. Illusion, said Lin Feng. Hong Donglu was astonished. Illusion? Illusion strength filled the air. But he didn't feel like he was appearing in an illusion. Nothing happened. The low-level saint of the empty space shrine threw a golden hand at Lin Feng, trying to grab him directly. Lin Feng slapped the air in front of him, and energies rolled out towards the golden hand. The space around them shook violently. It contained Earth's strength, and it was becoming more and more powerful. When it collided with the hand, the gigantic empty space hand exploded into pieces. Hong Donglu die, said Lin Feng, pointing at Hong Donglu. Hong Donglu withdrew, but sensed that he was slowing down. Lin Feng had released slow strength onto him, and condensed fast strength in his finger. Hong Donglu looked a bit surprised. Die, said Lin Feng. Hong Donglu was astonished. Lin Feng hadn't even gotten close to him, and he was already attacking? Be careful, Hong Donglu heard. He was stunned. Something was ripping through his brain. His face paled as he stared at Lin Feng. He couldn't believe it. How is that possible? His brain exploded, and he fell from the sky. He didn't even know how he had died. It was an attack Lin Feng had practiced for years. He created an illusion, but the enemy didn't know he was in an illusion. It was as if nothing changed around them. And then suddenly, Lin Feng was in front of them. Now Lin Feng had improved the attack, because he had condensed even more sorts of original strength in his finger. The attack was shapeless, invisible, and intangible. The strong cultivators of the empty space shrine were astonished. How could a low-level saint have been so careless? Lin Feng had definitely used a terrifying attack. Break free from this territory and disperse, said the low-level saint of the empty space shrine. They had to act promptly. They wanted to give up. He didn't feel like fighting against Lin Feng, even if he was holding a saint's weapon. Chapter 2439. Destroying a stationary point. After the strong cultivator of the empty space shrine said that, their group moved back and dispersed. The one who initially wanted to fight against Lin Feng was holding a halberd with 3 blades. Strength emerged from it. It was a space-lacerating halberd. It could cut apart space. Against people it was quite efficient too. It could chop them up quickly. The cultivator attacked Mou's sealed world with the space-lacerating halberd. Fissures appeared, and the world's strength dispersed. But after that, the crowd sensed the space tremble. They had the impression they were going to explode. Mou was bathing in starlights, and suddenly the space turned into a star world, shattering the spatial ties. After the seal broke, dazzling stars appeared and surrounded everybody. Let's end the battle quickly, otherwise their people will rush over, said Mou. She looked nervous. Lin Feng had destroyed their teleportation portal, but the enemies who weren't there would realize it soon enough, and then would rush over. Mou and the others couldn't waste time. I understand, said Lin Feng. He then moved towards the empty space shrine's strong cultivator, who was holding the space-lacerating halberd. At the same time, Ho Qing Lin and the others also charged towards their enemies. 2 people who had just become saints moved towards Ho Qing Lin. Ho Qing Lin released reincarnation strength, startling them. Reincarnation strength was rare. Reincarnation lights appeared as Ho Qing Lin released sword strength. 6 star-like lights appeared. The atmosphere was explosive. The reincarnation strength was corroding it. 6 great divisions in the wheel of karma. The 2 cultivators' faces paled. That was the intent of the 6 great divisions in the wheel of karma. One of them raised his fist and threw a punch in Ho Qing Lin's direction. The space turned into a gigantic fire giant. Its gigantic hand shot towards Ho Qing Lin. Ho Qing Lin raised his hand and reincarnation lights surrounded the giant and corroded its body away. At the same time he grunted coldly and raised both fists. The 6 great divisions in the wheel of karma surrounded the 2 cultivators. and they screamed panic-stricken. One of them had half of his body stuck in the reincarnation strength, the upper half of his body still flailing outside. How could a half-saint be so strong? His saint's technique is already incredible. A really strong cultivator must have transmitted that saint's technique to him, shouted one of them anxiously. Ho Ching Lin attacked again. 6 beam of lights intertwined in the space and attacked 2 enemies. My 6 great karma wheel division's attack is a billionth of my teacher's attack, thought Ho Ching Lin, sighing. After becoming a core disciple of the Fortune Shrine, he had left with the reincarnation priest, who had taught him a lot. In the end, Ho Ching Lin had acknowledged him as a teacher, not differently from his 2 teachers. His teacher had then taught him the 6 great karma wheel division's attack, but Ho Ching Lin's attack was much weaker. Ho Ching Lin had seen his teacher use the 6 great karma wheel divisions. When his teacher used it, the earth and the sky emitted sad and plaintive cries. It could destroy entire populations, nobody could escape. Ho Ching Lin hadn't even been able to see the intent inside, because it was so complex. Ho Ching Lin jumped forwards and killed him. At the same time, Lin Feng's god sword penetrated into the empty space shrine's low-level saint's forehead and killed him. The fire shrine's low-level saint against whom Mou was fighting was the only one left, and that battle wasn't difficult for Mou. At that moment, breaking sounds came from outside, alerting them. Oh no! Mou's face changed drastically. The others arrived, they're attacking my sealed world. The fire shrine's low-level saint retreated. The others moved back to the edge of the sealed world. If the sealed world broke apart, they'd be able to leave safely. Then they'd counterattack and surround them. Everybody come, let's get ready to disperse, said Mou. They gathered together. If the sealed world broke apart, they'd all leave together. It's not that easy, they may have sealed the area outside, said Lin Feng. Mou looked worried. Those people were really fast. But even if they did, those people are, at most, those who were near the Hong Clan stationary base. So we don't have anything to fear, said Lin Feng. He took out a spear, a medium-level saint's weapon. If he used his 2 other saint's weapons, people would recognize him. He had to use a different kind of saint's weapon. The long spear shot towards the fire shrine's low-level saint, who glared at Lin Feng anxiously. The fire shrine's strong cultivator was desperate. 2 low-level saints had already been killed by Lin Feng. He was scared. He condensed fire original strength, and the space around him started burning as fire giants appeared all around him. At the same time, a fire god appeared around him, bathing him in flames. The earth and the sky started burning too, turning everything glaring red. Die! He shouted furiously. The fire giants stretched out their hands at Lin Feng. So many hands appeared all around Lin Feng. A terrifying absorbing strength emerged from his spear. The fire turned into a beam of light and was drawn into the spear. The spear turned bright red. That saint's weapon contains absorbing strength. The fire shrine's strong cultivator pulled a long face. A terrifying dragon appeared and absorbed the energies around him. The spear continued absorbing the fire strength, and the fire giants slowed down as Lin Feng released slow strength. Lin Feng turned into a beam of light. He threw his spear and condensed fast strength in it. It was impossible to follow it with the eye. The fire shrine's saint screamed defiantly. The giant behind him threw out his hand. Die, said Lin Feng. His spear shot towards the other's third eye. The fire shrine's strong cultivator was astonished. He couldn't believe it his eyes. How was this possible? Flames invaded the space around him. He was bathing in flames, but he had no time to release his full strength. His attack vanished into nothing. Lin Feng's slow and fast strengths were incredible. And when he used such attacks against half-saints, they couldn't do anything at all. They just died instantly. How strong! Mou shivered when she saw Lin Feng. She had hopes again. Maybe this Mu Lin could really change things in Du City. At that moment, her sealed world broke apart, and a group of people appeared outside. When they saw that their allies had disappeared inside, they were shocked. Come with me, said Lin Feng. He released fast strength which surrounded the whole group, and they shot away. Lin Feng released earth and empty space original strength, and condensed it into his spear. He accelerated and reached his maximum speed. Let's go! Lin Feng, and the others sensed a terrifying energy fill the air in the distance. They broke talismans and disappeared. As expected, they have deployment talismans. The strong cultivators didn't chase them, as the strongest cultivators of the Hong clan had been killed. Very quickly, even more people gathered and pulled long faces. One of their stationary bases had been destroyed by their enemy, and none of their soldiers were left. We need to inform the 4 other officers that a strong cultivator has shown up. He can easily kill low-level saints in a short time, and even destroy a stationary base, said one of them. They had to think of ways to protect themselves. They couldn't let the same thing happen again. Chapter 2440, Trap. Lin Feng and Mou arrived somewhere else. They had already used several deployment talismans. Once they were far enough away, they felt relieved. The enemies had 4 high-level saints after all. They couldn't protect themselves against those terrifying cultivators. Phew. Mou took a deep breath. She was still wearing her armor and looking graceful in it. She smiled and stared at Lin Feng. What? Asked Lin Feng, smiling. I want to get to know you, said Mou, smiling. She put out her hand and smiled at Lin Feng. Lin Feng smiled and shook her hand freely. At the level of low-level saints, killing enemies is extremely difficult, even if the difference in strength is big. Usually, those who are defeated have the choice to escape. However, today you proved me wrong. Your attacks looked ordinary, but you easily killed the enemy with them, even though they were at the same cultivation level as you. From now on I'll stay with you, said Mou. She knew that what Lin Feng had done was extraordinary. She had also been amazed by Ho Qing Lin. He was just a half-saint, but his attacks were incredible, worthy of a legendary priest's disciple. His identity was extraordinary. Ho Qing Lin had come with Lin Feng, and Lin Feng looked like the leader. She could imagine that Lin Feng had a particular status in the fortune shrine. Following me can be dangerous. If the high-level saints had come a moment ago, it wouldn't have been fun. It was the first time, next time will be difficult. We can't use the same strategy again, said Lin Feng. Mou was impressed and nodded. Indeed, they had killed 3 low-level saints at once. It was a splendid and glorious victory, but it wouldn't happen again. So what do we do next? Asked Mou. If they couldn't attack by surprise anymore, what could they do? I don't know. I need to think, said Lin Feng. Yes, everyone should think, said Ho Qing Lin, nodding. What if we disappeared for some time and came back at some point? Asked Mou. She was nervous. No, said one of the cultivators with them, shaking his head. Yanqing, what's your idea? Asked Lin Feng. Yanqing had passed the exam at the same time as Moshi and Ho Qing Lin. He was also extremely strong. We should fish in troubled waters and reap benefit from confusion. The more confused the enemies are, the more chances we have to achieve what we want. If they are calm and serene, they will have time to set up a great defense strategy, and we won't be able to do anything anymore, said Yanqing, shaking his head. I have an idea, but it's dangerous. Tell us then, said Lin Feng. Master Mu Lin, you're a low-level saint. You kill strong cultivators of the same level quickly. Master Mou and Ho Qing Lin can kill half-saints quickly. Moshi and I can't do that. Moshi and I can become bait. We can feign an attack. Then when someone discovers us, we escape. It's a sensitive period. They definitely don't have a great strategy yet. They must be badly organized right now. It's an opportunity for you. But that strategy requires lots of deployment talismans to escape. And it's also very dangerous, said Yanqing. Lin Feng and the others looked thoughtful. I don't think it's that dangerous. It's only dangerous for those who get attacked by surprise, said Moshi. After attacking, they could leave immediately. You can do that, I'll attack alone, said Lin Feng to the people. No. If there are many people, we can all disperse and move in different directions, which would be good to distract them. If you're alone, they might set a trap and catch you. There are many saints from the empty space shrine among our enemies. They are experts at controlling empty space energy. They can seal the area anytime, said Ho Qing Lin, shaking his head. He didn't want to let Lin Feng take risks alone. It's precisely the reason why I think it's the best if I attack alone. The more people we are, the more dangerous it gets for us, said Lin Feng. Don't worry. My goal is only to kill a low-level saint. We can slowly kill their low-level saints, and then at some point, they'll have as many low-level saints as us. Then, we won't be in a weak position anymore. Are you worried about me? Said Lin Feng smiling. Let's do it like that. Alright, I agree, said Mou. What do you want me to do? Feign an attack. Or attack? I'll just listen to you. My life is your hands. Alright, I'll protect you then, said Lin Feng, smiling and nodding. Since they had already attacked by surprise once, they couldn't attack a second time by surprise. So Lin Feng hoped the strategy would work. He hoped he'd manage to kill a low-level saint, and 2 would be even better. Where do we act? Asked Yanqing. The Lung clan. Last time we went there, but didn't take anything from them. This time, it has to change, Lin Feng grinned nastily. The others nodded. All right, said Yanqing. They were all extraordinary people, otherwise they wouldn't have passed. They admired Lin Feng though. He could make deployment talismans. He had incredible fighting abilities. Even Mou admired and respected him. All right, let's do it then, dear friends, said Lin Feng smiling. We're done with the details, I think. Should we go? All right, everybody agreed. They wanted to help Lin Feng kill a low-level saint, at least one. And if they succeeded, the Fortune Shrine would feel less pressured. It was dawn in Du City. After what had happened on the previous evening, the Fire Shrine and the Empty Space Shrine were extremely nervous. And even the Lung clan was nervous. They had been attacked on the day before. But luckily, they hadn't lost any saint, just some face. But the Lung clan didn't know what to do. They were occupied by shrines. What could they do? They couldn't say anything. Even if they hoped the shrines would change their stationary base, they couldn't say anything. The continent of the 9 clouds was in a state of chaos. All the clans had their own ideas, and none wanted to be destroyed. The relations they had with other groups was complex. A few li away from the gate of the Lung clan, someone appeared, walking slowly. That person was wearing ordinary clothes, a hat, and looked like a tourist. It was Lin Feng, about to attack the Lung clan. He had gotten prepared. Mou and the others were going to attack the Lung clan by surprise. And then Lin Feng would attack once the situation was chaotic, and try to kill a low-level saint. That was his plan. But as Lin Feng got closer to the Lung clan, he didn't feel safe. The sensation was becoming more and more intense. That kind of feeling, it's the intuition I get because of the Celestial Dao Destiny technique. It could be dangerous, thought Lin Feng, frowning. He didn't feel relaxed at all, and acted promptly. He took out a talisman and said, "Plan cancelled. Disperse. We're about to attack. How could we give up?" replied Mou. At that moment, an attack descended from the sky and attacked the Lung clan. "Disperse, Jun Moshi, fellow disciple, Yanqing, disperse," said Lin Feng, contacting everyone personally. Lin Feng realized that the ground under his feet was golden. Lights surrounded his body. Those lights surrounded everybody li away, including the members of the Lung clan. What a powerful attack. The atmosphere is becoming chaotic. Only a high-level saint could do that, thought Lin Feng. He was petrified. He took out a deployment talisman and broke it. However, he didn't disappear. The atmosphere around him was in chaos. He couldn't control anything. Lin Feng pulled a long face. This deployment spell could constrict deployment talismans. Mou realized that too. Mou was stupefied. This time, they hadn't destroyed the teleportation portal. The situation was extremely dangerous. "Officer Qingyi, we're in the Lung clan and we're in danger. Help us." Mou sensed danger and immediately contacted Qingyi. The Lung clan's teleportation portal kept flashing. Qi filled the air. Mou saw strong cultivators moving towards them. "Go!" shouted Mou urgently. Jun Moshi, Ho Qinglin and Qinglin dispersed. "Come here." A dazzling light streaked across the sky. It was Lin Feng, riding a saint's weapon. Mou was stupefied and said, "Moron! Who told you to show yourself?" Lin Feng smiled at the angry Mou and said, "You're the moron. I told you I'd protect you." He shot towards Ho Qinglin and said, "Come here." Ho Qinglin, Jun Moshi, and Yanqing weren't very strong. If they stayed alone, they would be in danger. especially if they couldn't use deployment talismans. They wouldn't be able to escape. Chapter 2441. Encircling a furious warrior, Lin Feng's boat moved extremely quickly. He didn't intend to battle at all and flew away. However, they saw talismans appeared in front of them. A dazzling golden wall appeared and flashed unceasingly before them. Break! Lin Feng threw his spear at the wall. It hit hard, but only a small hole appeared. It wasn't big enough. Lin Feng and the others pulled long faces. Bad luck. Their 3 high-level saints seemed to know a lot about deployment spells. After what happened in the Hong clan, they cast such a gigantic deployment spell. And now we're inside it, said Mou. She was very nervous. If the high-level saints attacked them, they'd die quickly. They didn't stand a chance against high-level saints. The difference between them and low-level saints was gigantic. They're not in a rush, they're gathering strong cultivators. They don't want to take the risk to attack alone, said Ho Ching Lin, turning his head around and gazing into the distance. Their enemies knew they couldn't escape. After what had happened in the Hong clan, their enemies had seen how strong they were. If they could kill low-level saints in such a short time, they couldn't afford taking risks. They had to be very vigilant. The high-level saints haven't shown up yet, Lin Feng said coldly when he saw that strong cultivators were gathering. More than 10 low-level saints. Even if their high-level saints don't come, we will all die, unless our people arrive in time, whispered Mou pulling a long face. Did you contact them? Lin Feng asked her. Of course I don't want to die, said Mou. I know why the high-level saints didn't show up, asked Yanqing. Mou gazed into the distance. The fire shrine and the empty space shrine want to kill us all in one strike, said Yanqing. They guessed the fortune shrine was going to send people to help us, so they thought of a solution to stop them. If it were me, I wouldn't miss that opportunity, Lin Feng nodded. The strong cultivators of the fire shrine and the empty space shrine held the numeric advantage. They had 4 high-level saints, the fortune shrine only had 3. So even if all their low-level saints showed up, it wouldn't change anything since their enemies had more high-level saints. A dozen low-level saints is enough to get rid of us. What should we do now? Said Mou. The enemies could already put pressure on them. Mou, seal the 3 of them within a sealed world, Lin Feng said to her. Mou was startled and protested. You're crazy. There are a dozen low-level saints there. All of them have powerful saints techniques, and they all have saints weapons. Trust me, said Lin Feng. At that moment he looked so calm it was scary. Ho Ching Lin and the others couldn't fight against low-level saints. That's why Lin Feng asked Mou to put them in a sealed world. All right, said Mou. She looked gloomy. When she saw how determined Lin Feng looked, she sealed their allies in a world. During the battle, get ready to release even more sealing strength. Try to seal me and as few people as possible in the same world, Lin Feng said to Mou telepathically. Mou's eyes twinkled. She was surprised but replied, All right, I understand. Stay away for now. I will stay in the front, said Lin Feng, flashing forwards. Their enemies were surprised at his bravery. Lin, be careful, Mou called out. She was extremely nervous. If she wasn't mistaken, the high-level saints of the opposite army had probably gone to fight against the high-level saints of the Fortune Shrine. That way, even if the high-level saints of the Fortune Shrine wanted to come and help, they couldn't. It was a very dangerous situation, as Lin Feng and Mou couldn't escape. At least, she was convinced it was impossible. Lin Feng was firmly holding his spear. He had already fought against many low-level saints in the past in the Star World. But then the 9 bestial saints were the most powerful of enemies. They disdained the examinees. Of course, at that moment, even though his enemies were not as strong as the bestial saints, they were still very strong. But Lin Feng was also really strong himself. Lin Feng raised his spear, and a special qi appeared. Original strength filled the air. Be careful, the space contains illusion original strength. That guy can make people believe nothing has happened. We need to join hands and kill him as quickly as possible, said a strong cultivator of the empty space shrine. His eyes were golden, as if he could see through all things. A dazzling light filled the air. It contained saint strength. All sorts of original strengths started rising up in the air, and stirring restlessly. The space started shaking. An invisible and intangible wind started blowing. But in the end, those whirlwinds all moved towards Lin Feng. "Die!" shouted a strong cultivator extremely loudly. Dazzling golden lights streaked across the sky and turned into cage. Lin Feng was inside. At the same time, above Lin Feng, a gigantic hand appeared and descended from the sky with a rumble of thunder, flames blazing around it. It looked like a burning mountain falling from the sky, red as blood and fire. It burned away all the qi in its way. A sharp golden sword also shot towards Lin Feng. "Mulin!" Mou's face paled. The saints' attacks blotted out the sky and covered the earth. The low-level saints didn't get close to him, but they used their most powerful attacks to kill Lin Feng. Lin Feng flashed away and released a terrifying heavy strength. The atmosphere became heavy and oppressive. It was difficult to breathe. "Slow," said Lin Feng. Everything around him became slow. Then, Lin Feng put his spear in front of him. Illusory shadows appeared with 3 heads and 6 arms. Ancient imprints appeared around them, and the golden cage tore apart. At the same time, the heavy strength turned into ancient imprints and struck all the attacks around him. Some attacks continued moving towards him. Lin Feng raised his spear again and spun it. An explosive qi emerged from his spear. The gigantic fire hand crackled, and Lin Feng stabbed the hand with his spear. He looked like a warlord, a god of war. "Mou, get ready to seal me and him in another space, so that others can't influence me," said Lin Feng telepathically. Mou nodded. Lin Feng was even stronger than she had thought. He controlled many sorts of original strengths. "All right, but against those people's attacks, my world strength is not very useful. They will be able to break it in a few seconds," said Mou to Lin Feng. She had to tell him clearly, otherwise things would be even more dangerous for Lin Feng. A small mistake could lead to his death. "A few seconds is enough," replied Lin Feng. Mou looked at him admiringly. She was confident he could help. Interesting. At that moment, a saint looked at Lin Feng as if he were prey. He didn't hurry to attack. Lin Feng was very strong, so they had to be careful. The best thing was to disperse a little, so that their attacks wouldn't have an impact on their allies. They had to get closer to Lin Feng to kill him, by using their most powerful saints' techniques. They had to act quickly too. "Empty space berry," said a voice coldly. Empty space strength suddenly blotted out the sky and covered the earth, surrounding Lin Feng. Lin Feng tried to move, but the strength constricted him. He was stuck in a small and narrow empty space tunnel, and the empty space energy was corroding his body. Lin Feng's eyes glittered as he glanced at an old man with golden eyes. He was a powerful low-level saint of the empty space shrine. Chapter 2442. Killing Lin Feng was surrounded and buried by empty space strength. He understood that if the old man was a high-level saint, he would have crushed him instantly, especially if his empty space strength had reached the maximum level. However, the old man was still very strong. Lin Feng's spear contained a powerful absorbing strength. He raised it, and it started absorbing the empty space strength around him furiously. The empty space strength went wild. The golden-eyed old man was startled, his eyes flaring. He raised his hand, and an empty space tower appeared above Lin Feng. "Go in," said the old man coldly. The empty space tower descended towards Lin Feng. At the same time, more empty space strength surrounded Lin Feng and constricted him. A saint's weapon. Lin Feng was impressed. It was an extremely powerful saint's weapon that could imprison people. There was definitely a world inside. When the others saw that, they didn't hurry to attack Lin Feng. If the old man managed to capture Lin Feng in his tower, they wouldn't need to continue fighting. "Mu Lin. That guy's name is Su Yu. He's a very powerful low-level saint. He is also enigmatic and unfathomable. That tower is called the Holy Imprisoning Pagoda. It's a medium-level saint's weapon," said Mou, her face stiff. The strong cultivator against whom Lin Feng was fighting was famous. His attacks and his Holy Imprisoning Pagoda were fearsome. "Get ready to seal. When I tell you, seal him and me in the same world," replied Lin Feng telepathically. Mou was amazed. This guy was so self-confident. She ground her teeth and released an incredible qi. She said, Alright, when you need me to do it, just tell me I'm ready. It'll last for a few seconds. That's enough, replied Lin Feng. He released a terrifying sword energy, and the empty space strength which surrounded him crackled and broke apart. He eyed the holy imprisoning pagoda. It was dazzling, and the space around it was chaotic. The holy imprisoning pagoda moved towards Lin Feng, but it couldn't get any closer. Lin Feng had used his great empty space technique. He could use it not only on his own body, but on other things as well. Lin Feng raised his spear. Suyu saw a rising dragon. His heart twitched. Was he dreaming? It looked so real. He's using an illusion. Suyu was startled. Lin Feng said to Mou, "Start?" Mou nodded. Suddenly, stars appeared around Lin Feng and Suyu, and the others' faces changed. Oh no, kill him. After that, they moved towards the star world together and attacked. At the same time, Lin Feng jumped forwards. It looked like he was walking slowly, but actually, during those few milliseconds, his illusion was corroding his enemy's soul. Suyu retreated, covered with cold sweat. Suddenly, another dragon moved towards him and opened its mouth. There was a crack of thunder as the star world broke. Mou's face paled. She wasn't as strong as Lin Feng, and she didn't control several sorts of original strength like him who could use slow, fast, and empty space strengths. So many low-level saints surrounded her, they could easily kill her. "You want to die?" sneered a voice coldly. It sounded like the voice of a demon. The crowd sensed a terrifying strength invade the space behind them. A cultivator was moving towards Mou. He raised his hand. Explosive energies appeared around him. Mou looked devastated and hopeless. Was she really going to die? Slash slash. Blood splashed on Mou's face. She closed her eyes. She sensed a terrifying sword chi. When she opened her eyes, she saw a terrifying and dazzling sword chi floating in front of her. It was protecting her. Mu Lin was in the distance and surrounded by demon energies. He was holding a demon halberd and looked like an ancient demon. There was a low-level saint's corpse hanging on the tip of the halberd. Great demon halberd of desolation. A strong cultivator of the fire shrine stared at Lin Feng in astonishment. His face paled as he looked at Lin Feng and said, it's you, Lin Feng." "It's me," said Lin Feng. His eyes turned black. It seemed like anything could drown in those eyes. They were filled with murder. He said coldly, "Today, you're going to die." Pitch-black light beams emerged from his eyes. The whole crowd had the impression they were falling into an abyssal black hole. The one who had just recognized Lin Feng didn't even have time to react. Lin Feng beheaded him with his great demon halberd of desolation. He looked astonished as he died unwillingly. "Let's go," shouted the others desperately. They wanted to leave the illusion. 5 low-level saints were left on their side, and they didn't dare fight anymore. They were too scared. "Where are you going?" That voice seemed to come from the great demon halberd of desolation, and demons appeared all around. Lin Feng slowly walked forwards. He looked like a demon god. His enemies looked hopeless and dispirited. They had the impression they were carrying the whole world on their shoulders. How could they fight? Strong cultivators kept dying one after the other. They either disappeared or their corpses fell down to the ground when Lin Feng attacked them with his great demon halberd of desolation. Mou looked at the guy who looked like a demon god. That was Lin Feng, a cultivator many people talked about often in the Fortune Shrine. Chapter 2443. Celestial Sealing Map. Lin Feng put his great demon halberd of desolation away, and his demon energies dispersed as his god's sword went back into his hand. He looked at Mou and said, "What's wrong?" Mou was still stunned. Lin Feng looked normal again, but his voice made her heart tremble. She couldn't calm down. She finally shook her head and replied, "Nothing. But this area is still a deployment spell cast by a high-level saint. We can't break it. What do we do?" Ho Qing Lin and Jun Mo Shi came out next to them. Mo Shi had released them already. They were all astonished by Lin Feng's abilities, especially Yan Qing. He hadn't thought Lin Feng was so strong. "The area is sealed." The others probably didn't think Lin Feng would be so strong and could kill a dozen low-level saints. But their allies will quickly find out they all died. "If high-level saints come, we're doomed," said Yanqing. At that moment, many people who had just become saints appeared in the distance, but they stayed far away. They had seen the tragic battle a moment before. Lin Feng had killed everyone. They already told their allies about it, said Ho Qinglin, glancing at those people. We need to find a solution. I'll go and try, said Lin Feng. Then he said to Mou, you take care of those half-saints. All right. Mou nodded. She was a low-level saint. She could easily destroy half-saints, even if there were a lot of them. Lin Feng took his boat and flew to the edge of the deployment spell. He shouted furiously and bombarded the deployment spell with his ruler's sword. However, it was useless. He couldn't break it. The original strength of a high-level saint was too powerful for him. It seems like I have no choice. I need to ask a bestial saint for help, or we won't be able to break free. Or I could also gamble and hope that a high-level saint of the fortune shrine comes. Then it'd mean that we'd have to wait and see which high-level comes first, ours or theirs, thought Lin Feng. Lin Feng didn't feel like using another bestial saint though, as he could ask them for help only once. As he had expected, the news quickly spread into Yu City. The fire shrine quickly informed the other shrines. Lin Feng was different from the other enemies. At the top of a celestial fire mountain in the fire shrine, a strong cultivator was seated cross-legged. In front of him, light curtains appeared, showing different shrines' leaders. Why did you summon us? Asked a cultivator wearing an empty space robe of the fire shrine's leader. He looked unhappy. Haven't you heard the news? Lin Feng is in Yu City, and he killed a dozen of our low-level saints, said the fire shrine's leader. The other was astonished. Someone else asked, so what? The forbidden body isn't the sole responsibility of the fire shrine. We're all responsible for getting rid of it. If you don't want to fight a war against the fortune shrine, it's your problem. But back then, we all agreed to get rid of the forbidden person. So many strong cultivators have died already. Now the world is in a state of chaos. You know what it means? If a new god appears, you will all be crushed, even if you are a shrine. You will have no choice but to acknowledge allegiance to him. You'll become a joke in the continent of the 9 clouds. Maybe then, your lives will be in someone else's hands. Maybe the fortune shrine will reign over the world, and will do whatever they want to you, said the fire shrine's leader coldly. The forbidden body is there, and we have to kill him, unless you think the fortune shrine will forget about all these years of tensions. Everybody looked surprised. Their ultimate goal in life, as strong cultivators, was to become really peerless. They wanted to become stronger than anyone else in the world. They wanted to become the single god. They wanted to be unreachable, so that nobody would be able to catch up with them. If they allowed anyone to surpass and oppress them, then it became impossible. It also meant they acknowledged that person as a god. How could they let the fortune shrine become so powerful? I've heard that some high-level saints protect him, a very powerful one. Unless we send a peerless saint, we can't kill Lin Feng. The fortune shrine won't just stand by and look on, said a shrine's leader. The empty space shrine has the celestial sealing map, doesn't it? Can't you take it out? Seal all the members of the fortune shrine into Yu City. I'll personally send a peerless saint to kill Lin Feng, said the fire shrine's leader. But I also hope that everybody will help and cooperate. Don't stay on the side and watch. You also need to help. Otherwise, I don't care. We'll just let Lin Feng grow and become strong. Is that so? But Lin Feng hates the fire shrine more than any other shrine. Someone smiled. If you think the fortune shrine will be nice to the ice and snow shrine, if they become the ultimate leaders of the world, then just sit aside and watch, replied the fire shrine's leader. Your plan is that we take out the celestial sealing map. You send a peerless saint, the others help, and that way we can destroy the fortune shrine. But we need to get ready first, said the empty space shrine's leader. The fire shrine's leader smiled. We'll all gather in Yu City. In Yu City, Lin Feng couldn't do much. He had to get help from a bestial saint. Lin Feng was really annoyed. The bestial saint just came out and broke the seal, then left without doing anything. He had promised them they would only need to help once. There were only 9 high-level bestial saints in the star world, so Lin Feng only had 9 opportunities. Regarding the 3 peerless bestial saints, they disdained him and didn't listen to him. But Lin Feng understood. He was extremely weak in comparison to them. It was already difficult to convince the high-level bestial saints. The Lung clan had already been turned into a field of ruins. He had already killed all the saints. Lin Feng was convinced that these were severe losses for the Fire Shrine and the Empty Space Shrine. I wonder how the other battle is going, whispered Lin Feng. Should we go and see? Said Mou. No need. We can't join the high-level saints' battle. What just happened will quickly reach them. That way, I'm convinced the high-level saints will know when to move back, said Lin Feng. Mou nodded. She was curious though, where did the high-level saint Lin Feng had called come from? Why had he just broken the seal and then left? She guessed Lin Feng had a treasure, but she couldn't ask him about that. Everybody had secrets. Lin Feng was just too mysterious. Somewhere in Du City was a teleportation portal. At that moment it twinkled. Empty space strength rolled in waves around it. Someone was coming from very far away. Many people noticed it in Du City, including Lin Feng and the others. The teleportation portal didn't twinkle only once but several times. Lin Feng and the others frowned. Mou pulled a long face. There, it's a stationary base of the two shrines. They possibly, whispered Mou. Her face stiffened. Maybe they teleported directly from the shrines, said Lin Feng. Yes. I didn't think they would pay so much attention to the battlefields of Du City, to the extent that they would make a teleportation portal in the shrine to get here. The Fortune Shrine doesn't even have one, said Mou. She was annoyed. If strong cultivators can teleport directly from their shrines, then they're probably high-level saints. We must inform the Fortune Shrine's masters, and tell them we need to leave Du City. Leave? Lin Feng was surprised. We should temporarily at least. We can't do much if they keep sending in new troops, said Mou. However, at that moment in the distance some dazzling lights appeared in the sky. An empty space strength appeared everywhere above Du City. What's that? Mou was astonished. She shuddered with fear. A terrifying ocean of empty space was rolling in the sky. What was the empty space shrine doing? Chapter 2444. A deal with the peerless bestial Saint Lin Feng, and the others raised their heads in awe. A gigantic web of lights appeared in the sky, and covered the whole city. It's a recording map, said Jun Emoshi stunned. Celestial sealing map. Mou trembled even more violently, her face pale. That was the legendary celestial sealing map of the empty space shrine. Celestial sealing map? Lin Feng looked surprised. He had read many books, he knew what the celestial sealing map was. It was an empty space treasure. It could seal gigantic regions, and at that moment, the empty space shrine was using it to seal Du City. The empty space shrine wants to seal the whole town, said Mou. Her mouth was wide open in shock. Strong cultivators from shrines had teleported to Du City, and now they were sealing the city. Du City was an almost insignificant battlefield to do such a thing. Maybe it was for Lin Feng. Lin Feng, what do we do? They're probably coming for you, said Mou. She was panic-stricken. Lin Feng frowned and looked furious. The shrines were doing all they could to kill him once again. They even used the celestial sealing map. Let's disperse, said Lin Feng to Mou and the others. He also thought the shrines were looking for him. He couldn't stay with Mou and the others, otherwise, they'd be in danger too. No, we need to ask the Fortune Shrine for help, said Ho Qinglin. The Fortune Shrine would definitely help if the other shrines tried to kill Lin Feng. No time anymore. Brother, you don't know how powerful the celestial sealing map is. Even if the Fortune Shrine sends some peerless saints, they won't be able to break it, said Lin Feng. Ho Qinglin pulled a long face. The celestial sealing map was too powerful. Since the empty space shrine has the celestial sealing map, the Fortune Shrine must have terrifying items to resist as well, said Jun Emoshi indifferently. The shrines all probably had trump cards. Indeed, said Ho Qinglin nodding. Let's not think about that for now. You guys find a place to hide. Gather with the other strong cultivators of the Fortune Shrine, said Lin Feng. He didn't let them talk, he continued. Anyway, they won't find me easily. After that, Lin Feng's silhouette flickered, and he streaked across the sky. Mou and the others were stunned. He doesn't want us to be put in danger, whispered Mou, watching Lin Feng disappear into the distance. Ho Qinglin clenched his fists. He felt powerless. He couldn't help his friend. On the contrary, if he stayed with Lin Feng, he would even be a burden. At that moment, many people raised their heads in Du City. Many strong cultivators knew that Du City had just been sealed. In a place where the qi was thick and rich, someone who had invited people for a banquet sensed that the area was being sealed. He raised his head and looked unhappy. Who did that? Master, I came to inform you, since you're a supreme cultivator, it's the celestial sealing map of the empty space shrine, said someone, standing up. The fire shrine and the empty space shrine are fighting against the fortune shrine in Du City for control over the city. You might be involved at some point, since you're a supreme cultivator. I didn't think they'd use the celestial sealing map though. What does that have to do with me? Asked that supreme cultivator indifferently. The world is in a state of chaos. The shrines need people, they need resources, they need strength. Therefore, they want to keep good relations with the local people, and they want them to help if needed, said that person with a smile. The supreme cultivator nodded. He understood. I don't want to have anything to do with them, said that supreme cultivator indifferently. The others looked at him politely. Regarding the empty space shrine's actions, many people in Du City were unhappy. But what could they do? And what was going on in Du City? Why were they using the celestial sealing map? Du City was big. Lin Feng was on his boat, and he flying away. He found a mountain range and sat down cross-legged. He immediately went into his star world. Master Ox, said Lin Feng to the old ox. He said, some peerless saints might be coming to kill me. If I hide here, can they find me? Of course, nothing can escape from peerless saints' godly awareness. If you hide in the praying mat, which is the star world, if a peerless saint sees it, he will think there's something strange, and he will find you. Unless he decides to ignore it, said the old ox. Lin Feng's face stiffened. Du City was sealed, he couldn't escape. If he went into his own world, the qi could still be sensed outside. He couldn't hide from a peerless saint's godly awareness. Do you have an idea? What could I do this time? Lin Feng asked the old ox. In the star world, there are 3 peerless saints. Convince them to help you, said the old ox calmly. Lin Feng frowned. The 3 peerless saints didn't want to help him. How could he convince them? I have no choice but to try, I guess. Even if all the high-level bestial saints agreed to help, it'd be useless, Lin Feng smiled. He disappeared and reappeared in front of the 3 peerless bestial saints. They were all at the top of a mountain. Their eyes were closed. They didn't even look at Lin Feng. The old ox appeared next to Lin Feng and smiled. I myself can't even convince these 3 guys. I can't help you either. Back in the days, when my master recruited them, they were unwilling to submit until he became a very peerless cultivator, and nobody else was stronger than him anymore. After he disappeared, nobody has ever managed to get help from them. Lin Feng nodded and looked at them, saying, Masters. The 3 of them were still seated cross-legged. They didn't even look at Lin Feng. He was annoyed. Guys, Lin Feng is the new master of the star world. Give him face, said the old ox indifferently. One of them opened his eyes and glanced at Lin Feng. Lin Feng's soul shook under those eyes. Speak, said that cultivator indifferently. Master, the shrines might be sending some peerless saints to kill me. I need you to help me, said Lin Feng. Only peerless saints could help Lin Feng in such circumstances. Why? Asked that cultivator in a cold and detached way. Lin Feng replied calmly, the shrines have been chasing me because I have a forbidden body, and according to legends, it is said that if a forbidden person appears, the continent of the 9 clouds will sink into a state of chaos, and a new god might appear. You guys are all peerless saints, but you've been stuck at that cultivation level for a long time. If someday I become as strong as you or even stronger, I'll help you. A god is a concept you don't understand. Besides, it's not even sure you could become one. And if you did, it's not even sure you could help us. Even if you did reach that level, you wouldn't be willing to help anyway, said that cultivator indifferently. It made sense, but Lin Feng felt annoyed. Becoming a god was easier said than done. Besides, if someone became a god, would they be willing to help others become gods? Lin Feng sighed and said, since it's that way, I'm off. He sounded neither haughty nor humble and turned around. They didn't trust him, and he couldn't convince them. If it was his fate to die, then he was going to die. Wait, that cultivator said suddenly. Lin Feng turned back around and asked, Master, how may I help you? You're the new master of the Star World. If you become a high-level saint, I'll help you, said that cultivator calmly. Lin Feng was stunned. Did he have time to become a high-level saint? Diyu City was sealed. Shrine's cultivators were coming. Did he have time to practice cultivation? I will do my best, said Lin Feng. If you don't trust yourself, why would we trust you? Said that person indifferently. He closed his eyes again. Lin Feng was stupefied. Chapter 2445. People's Plans and Actions. Lin Feng left the Star World, looking calm and detached. The empty space shrine's strong cultivators had decided to use the celestial sealing map, so Peerless Saints attacking were also a possibility. They had been a bit too careless this time, when they had decided to attack the Lung clan. They had underestimated the Fire Shrine and the Empty Space Shrine. Now Mou and Ho Qing Lin were in danger too, and Lin Feng had also been uncovered. Of course, Lin Feng hadn't thought the shrines would do so much to kill him. This time, Diyu City is completely sealed. Peerless Saints could arrive anytime. All I need is time, thought Lin Feng. Even though Peerless Saints could inspect the whole town with their godly awareness, Diyu City was a big city. If they wanted to inspect the whole town, they would need time too. Lin Feng needed to hide properly enough to save time. The most dangerous place is a place nobody would consider a good place to hide, thought Lin Feng. He changed his face, body and chi, and then disappeared from there. Diyu City was sealed, and the strong cultivators from the shrines who had teleported there were already looking for Lin Feng. Even if they couldn't find Lin Feng, they would try to find members of the Fortune Shrine to kill them. That way they wouldn't waste time, but they'd also be able to take over Diyu City. Peerless Saints didn't really care about such things. If it wasn't for Lin Feng, no Peerless Saint would have come. Peerless Saints were the most precious cultivators of the shrines. Shrines didn't have many Peerless Saints, they were extremely rare. Besides, they stood aloof from worldly affairs, and they didn't listen to anyone's orders. Everybody was very polite to Peerless Saints. At that moment, Officer Qing Yi and the others were being chased. The battles were fierce. Mou also fought against other people. Disperse! Some people are coming to help them, we can't fight forever, shouted Officer Qing Yi to the members of the Fortune Shrine. The others retreated. However, their enemies continued chasing them. They were wasting time, and weren't in a rush to win the battles. They followed Mou closely. Mou seal! Shouted someone. It was Lin Feng's voice. Mou was surprised. She nodded and sealed the area. The strong cultivator, who Mou was fighting against, was surprised. He turned around and saw a dazzling sword. He didn't have time to react and was killed. He had thought the sword wasn't close yet. Lin Feng, how come you're back already? Asked Mou. She didn't understand, and pulled a long face. Lin Feng couldn't show up. Lin Feng will leave with his boat. Help me do something, Lin Feng said to her telepathically. Mou nodded and replied, all right, I hope you can deceive them. After that, the strong cultivators of the Fire Shrine and the Empty Space Shrine saw Lin Feng leave with his boat, which was an incredible saint's weapon. It was extremely fast. Many people saw Lin Feng leave and chased after him. The order they had received was to kill Lin Feng. Of course, some people stayed to deal with the members of the Fortune Shrine. Mou was fighting against someone. She took out a saint's weapon and said, this saint's weapon doesn't have a master anymore. It's a medium-level saint's weapon, and if you continue chasing me, it'll belong to someone else. She withdrew. The man was surprised, and used his godly awareness to inspect the weapon. He was surprised it was indeed a medium-level saint's weapon. How tempting. That woman didn't care about anything anymore but her life, to the extent that she threw the weapon away to escape. A medium-level saint's weapon is worth it, thought Li Xiao. Killing Mou wasn't that beneficial to him in comparison to a medium-level saint's weapon. That weapon would allow him to be that much stronger. In such circumstances, people chose what was the best for them. Li Xiao flew towards the weapon and looked happy. It was a sword, and it didn't have a master. It was a sword. He smiled indifferently. He put it in his ring, and then raised his head. Mou had already disappeared. Li Xiao didn't mind though. The fortune shrine also learned that Du City had been sealed. In the sky, some strong cultivators of the fortune shrine were above the clouds and looking at the ground. They flew, but not in Du City's direction. The shrines and the supreme animal world ruled over the continent of the 9 clouds. All the shrines knew things which other people didn't know. They didn't allow other shrines to show up in places where they could obtain information. They dared act insolently when other shrines tried because of 3 reasons. First, the shrines sent saints where they could obtain as much information as possible. Second, the shrines all had at least 3 peerless saints. That was a principle in the continent of the 9 clouds. Third, the shrines all had extremely powerful weapons. The empty space shrine wasn't the only shrine which had something like the celestial sealing map. Every shrine had something like that, including the fortune shrine. That's why there was a balance of power. Nobody dared take out their trump cards. If they did, other shrines would attack them right after. The shrines were very cautious, but because of the forbidden body, the world had become chaotic. The strong cultivators of the fortune shrine were flying in the direction of the empty space shrine. Since the empty space shrine had taken out the celestial sealing map, then, they didn't need to be polite either. They had the opportunity to show the empty space shrine, which didn't have the celestial sealing map anymore, that it'd be difficult to deal with the fortune shrine's peerless weapon. As the strong cultivators of the fortune shrine flew towards the empty space shrine, the strong cultivators of the fire shrine were already in Du City. Qiongfan was a strong cultivator of the fire shrine, who hadn't shown up for many years. He had had an ordinary life for a very long time, but he hadn't become any less strong or sharp. When he landed on the ground, oppressive energies filled the space around him. Many people felt pressured. They didn't know why, but they felt like kneeling down and worshipping him. He was a peerless saint. He had transcended worldliness. He was already among the strongest cultivators of the continent of the 9 clouds. At his cultivation level, only gods were stronger. High-level saints like to say, "It's easy to become a high-level saint, but it's difficult to become a peerless saint." Of course, they were the only ones who said that, because becoming a high-level saint was extremely difficult. Low-level saints were angry when they heard that, but once they became high-level saints, they understood. There were many high-level saints in the continent of the 9 clouds, but there were definitely not many peerless saints. Qiongfan rose up in the air, looking like a god. Many people sensed a fearsome godly awareness inspect them. Who dared inspect them with their godly awareness, without the slightest scruple? In any case, nobody could say anything. Many people raised their heads and looked at Qiongfan, sighing at his strength. Why was that strong cultivator in Du City? Why had the shrine decided to use the celestial sealing map? What were they looking for? He moved his godly awareness extremely quickly, but Du City was gigantic. Even if he was fast, he couldn't inspect the whole town that quickly. "I found some people from the fortune shrine. Send some people," said Qiongfan indifferently. Then some images appeared in the sky. Those images were pictures of the place where Saint Qingyi was. Their people were still chasing people from the fortune shrine. But Qiongfan didn't care about that. He was looking for Lin Feng. The sky became red, and the temperature in Du City became scorching hot. Many people stopped looking at the sky and lowered their heads. They felt uncomfortable, but nobody dared say anything. "Where is he?" said Qiongfan angrily. Someone came to him and said, "Master, did you inspect the whole town?" "Yes, including the mountains, rivers, and deserts." "He's not here. I can't find his qi. My godly awareness was only stopped in one place," said Qiongfan. That person looked worried. He knew what place that was. It was a place where there was a supreme cultivator, and they didn't know where he was from. The only reason why a supreme cultivator would have come to Du City would be to invade it. "What should we do?" asked the high-level saint. The world was in a state of chaos. They didn't want to offend an extremely strong cultivator. Chapter 2446. Difference between cultivators who are high-level saints. Cheong Fan's eyes twinkled, and he said, "Let's go and greet that supreme cultivator," said Cheong Fan, flying away. His people followed him. They also wanted to see the supreme cultivator, who was in Du City. Usually, the supreme cultivator was in a good mood. He wanted to settle in Du City. Ordinary didn't care about the shrine's battles. He was convinced the shrines wouldn't dare attack him anyway, therefore, he had invited many old and new friends. But Ordinary was annoyed because Du City had been sealed, so some of his friends whom he had invited would probably be stuck outside. It ruined his mood. The shrines really liked to act without the slightest scruple. Not only did they seal Du City, but they also inspected the whole town with their godly awareness. "And now they're coming to us," said Ordinary unhappily. "Haha, Master Ordinary, the shrines are arrogant and disdain people, since they rule over the continent of the 9 clouds. Anything that poses a threat to them must be destroyed," someone smiled. That person looked sharp. His chi was powerful and golden lights twinkled around him. "We're lucky we got out of that devilish place. We have mountains and rivers, and we're drinking alcohol. That's awesome," said another one, smiling. "Indeed. We should be happy. Let's forget about them. Cheers." Ordinary smiled back. After a short time, a loud voice sounded about them. "Cheong Fan from the Fire Shrine. I'm here to greet you, Your Excellency." "Since you're here, come in," said Ordinary indifferently. A group of strong cultivators came in, Cheong Fan leading the group. He glanced at them, smiled, and nodded at Ordinary. "Sorry for disturbing you during your banquet, Your Excellency. Since you're here, have a few drinks with us," said Ordinary indifferently. Cheong Fan glanced at Ordinary and the others, hiding his surprise. Apart from Ordinary, there was a cultivator as strong as him, and there was Ao Tsong Hai too. "All right, thank you for your hospitality," said Cheong Fan, looking for a place to sit. He had to give them a little face, as he disturbed them, after all, and it was a sensitive period. He didn't want to offend such people. He didn't mind chatting with Ordinary, who was a supreme cultivator. Li Xiao was there too, but his social status was rather low, and he wasn't strong enough. He stayed far away. He looked around and saw many strong cultivators. When facing Peerless saints, he had nothing to say. He had to obey when they talked. At that moment, the person everybody was looking for was in Li Xiao's ring. The sword Mo you had given to Li Xiao was bathed in lights. Lin Feng was in the star world. The solution Lin Feng had imagined was joining one of his enemies, hiding the star world in one of his enemy's rings. Finding him wouldn't be easy there. After going into the star world, Lin Feng had gone into his own world. So many years had passed, his soul world was perfect. There were all sorts of energies everywhere. There were many countries and empires, not just the empire of Shuiyu, and more cultivators. There were many places to practice, and to become stronger. And only a few decades had passed. If hundreds or thousands of years passed, then it'd become even better. Lin Feng had already established some rules in Shuiyu. He didn't allow people to kill others in the city center, because he wanted the number of people to increase. Lin Feng was in the sky. To become a high-level saint, he needed to make one sort of original strength to reach the maximum level. Even though he was at the god level, he had to do that too. And now he was wondering what strength he should make study to make it reach the maximum level. Gold, wood, fire, water, earth, wind, empty space, death. I can understand any sort of original strength, and I can understand them even better in my spirit world. However, how to make an original strength reach the maximum level? Whispered Lin Feng. All sorts of original strengths were floating around him at that moment. The different sorts of original strengths all had their specific foibles. How could I understand God original strength? Whispered Lin Feng. Maybe he needed to experience things physically to understand. When he thought about that, he left his own world and went back to the star world. The 9 high-level saints appeared in front of him. He had never really fought against a high-level saint. He wanted to see what it felt like now. He wanted to see in what way their original strength was different from his own. What was the difference between high-level saints and low-level saints? Everybody, I want to see the difference between high-level saints' strength and low-level saints. Can you help me? Asked Lin Feng asked the saints. The old ox appeared next to him and said to help Lin Feng. Since he wants to study, teach him a good lesson and show him how strong you are. The old ox couldn't influence Peerless bestial saints, but he could influence the high-level ones. The golden ape jumped forwards. All right, I'll show you. I'm listening, master, said Lin Feng, rising up in the air. The golden ape also flew up. Lin Feng's body suddenly stiffened. An incredible oppressive strength surrounded him and gave him the impression he was going to explode. Lin Feng grimaced. How terrifying. However, he still moved forwards and attacked the golden ape with his sword. But at that moment, apart from oppressive strength, heavy strength surrounded him and prevented him from moving forwards. Lin Feng noticed how incredible the difference between him and the ape was. He was astonished. He released fast strength and moved like the wind towards the ape while releasing sword strength. The sword crashed against the ape's skin, which was as thick as an earth armor. It couldn't pierce through. At the same time, the ape raised his hand and moved it towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng could sense how oppressive the heavy strength was. It was extremely resistant too. He accelerated, groaning with pain, feeling like his organs were going to explode as he coughed blood. Lin Feng took a deep breath. He looked astonished. He was a low-level saint, and he could defeat them extremely easily. He hadn't thought the difference between low-level saints and high-level saints would be so incredible. So, did you sense it? That's how powerful Earth original strength is. Oppression strength, heaviness strength, thick strength, defense strength. All those kinds of strength are Earth original strength. And golden apes don't only control Earth strength. Even high-level saints are like insects in front of him, said the old ox. Is the difference between high-level saints and other high-level saints bigger than the difference between low-level and high-level saints? Asked Lin Feng to the old ox. Of course, things also depend on which strength you control. Now imagine if one cultivator has one original strength at the maximum level, and another one has two original strengths at the maximum level. Which one has the advantage? Among the high-level bestial saints in front of you, a few of them also use a fusion of original strengths. But because these kinds of original strengths are inconsistent with the criteria to become a peerless saint, they're still high-level bestial saints. So now, in your opinion, who is stronger? Someone who controls two sorts of original strengths, or someone who uses a fusion of two original strengths? The old ox said to Lin Feng. Lin Feng was speechless. Of course, fusions of original strengths were probably more powerful. In order to make original strengths fuse, a cultivator had to understand them really well, which meant they were stronger than others who just understood two types. A high-level saint can be 10 times, or even 100 times stronger than another high-level saint. A really strong high-level saint can easily kill other high-level saints. He can even defeat hundreds of them alone, and at once. The old ox smiled at Lin Feng. Lin Feng was astonished. I see. That's why the 9 high-level saints accepted to fight against me when I become a high-level saint. You only understood now? Asked the old ox casually. The 9 high-level bestial saints looked at Lin Feng, seeming amused. They hoped that Lin Feng would quickly become a high-level saint, and then they would teach him a good lesson. Chapter 2447. Peerlessly terrifying old ox Lin Feng looked at the 9 bestial saints' faces and burst into laughter. Since they really wanted him to become a high-level saint to teach him a good lesson. Good. He was precisely trying to become one. He didn't mind fighting against them a few times to study their original strength. It was a rare opportunity. Besides, the 9 bestial saints were extraordinary cultivators with an advanced understanding of energies. Master Ape, use other kinds of original strength to help me study them, said Lin Feng to the smiling golden ape. He was surprised but grinned. That little boy wasn't afraid, he liked that. Use your full strength to attack me. No need to be scared, said the grinning golden ape. Lin Feng nodded. A dazzling golden armor appeared on the golden ape. It was gold original strength, probably extremely resistant. Lin Feng raised his spear and attacked. His spear turned into a light beam and crashed onto the armor, and sparkles appeared. Of course, it couldn't pierce through. When your gold strength reaches the maximum level, Your defense becomes incredible. It's better than a saint's armor. Other people's attacks are too weak to pierce through. Of course, if someone's penetration strength is powerful enough, then they can pierce through my original strength, the golden ape said to Lin Feng. Penetration strength? Lin Feng was surprised. Indeed, if your attacks are extremely powerful, as a low-level saint, you can defeat enemies. But when you're a high-level saint, direct attacks are not as efficient. Many high-level saints use incredible treasures, and even without them, their physical defense is also incredibly powerful. So direct attacks become useless. I can make armors using a fusion of earth and gold strength. Ordinary high-level saints can't do anything against me. How do I carry out an attack which has penetration strength? Asked Lin Feng. Many sorts of original strengths contain penetration strength. Earth original strength automatically has a sort of penetration strength expressed through pulsations. When using empty space strength, it's even more incredible. Cultivators who use empty space strength don't even need to defend themselves, said the gold ape. An armor suddenly appeared on Lin Feng's body. The gold ape made it for him. Sense my earth original strength's penetration power, said the golden ape patiently. He put his hand on Lin Feng's armor. Lin Feng sensed a strength envelop his body, pulsating with power. The ape used more force, and Lin Feng groaned with pain. If the ape wanted, he could easily destroy Lin Feng's internal organs. Did you sense that? That's earth strength at the maximum level. You need to study a lot to make your original strengths reach their maximum level, said the ape impolitely. Lin Feng nodded. Indeed, he had to study a lot. The ape could actually use earth strength to become a part of the earth, and didn't even need to worry about defense anymore. If you understand empty space strength at the maximum level, then you don't need to use earth original strength. You don't even need to worry about defense. When you use empty space strength to attack, the attacks attack the cultivator directly, and not their defense, said the golden ape. Lin Feng looked thoughtful. Another bestial saint spoke up. All right, I'll show you what empty space original strength looks like at the maximum level. Come and attack me. Lin Feng nodded. His silhouette flickered and he attacked. He raised his spear and attacked, however. When he attacked, the spear appeared next to the beast even though he hadn't moved. Empty space divergence. Lin Feng was astonished. He raised his left hand and pointed his finger at the beast. Whistling sounds spread in the air, and powerful death stamps moved towards the beast. However, the attack stopped in front of the beast, and appeared in another space. Then, the beast raised his finger and Lin Feng's attack moved aside. Phew! How to fight in such conditions? Lin Feng was stupefied. As expected, original strength, at the maximum level, wasn't something so simple. The old ox watched. All of them looked interested as they watched Lin Feng, their eyes glittering. Lin Feng was determined they liked that. After that, Lin Feng was attacked by an illusion original strength attack. He didn't understand anything anymore. He moved back and took a deep breath when it finished. How scary. You sense so many types of original strengths at the maximum level, but understanding original strength and reaching its maximum level is something else. And doing it in a short time is impossible, said a bestial saint to Lin Feng. Lin Feng's face stiffened. It was true. He had experimented a lot, but understanding original strength was another story. How difficult. Did he have enough time? If the old ox is willing to help you, he can save you a lot of time, said the bestial saint. Lin Feng was surprised. Master Ox, you hoped we would help him. Why don't you help him yourself? You can help him more than us, the bestial saint said to the old ox. I haven't attacked for a very long time. I forgot how to attack, said the old ox indifferently. I know our master made you swear you wouldn't do anything unless the new master reached a certain level. But you don't necessarily need to fight, attack, or whatever to help him, said that cultivator with a smile. Lin Feng didn't understand. He only knew that the old ox was the manager of that world. He could go anywhere in this world, just like Lin Feng. He had privileges in this world, maybe even more than Lin Feng. Little boy, you know what kind of strength Master Ox controls? I don't know, said Lin Feng, shaking his head. He was convinced the old ox was extremely strong, but he didn't know how strong. From what I know, 4 of his original strengths have reached the maximum level, and he has already fused them together. You can't imagine how strong he is, said that bestial saint with a smile. Lin Feng frowned. A fusion of 4 original strengths. How terrifying. He even controlled special kinds of original strengths, since he was a peerless saint. Which ones? A fusion of slow and fast allows a cultivator to make time, and things move slower or faster. Have you ever heard of that? Asked the bestial saint smiling. Lin Feng nodded. I have. With empty space strength at the maximum level, a cultivator can also modify time and space, explained the bestial saint. Lin Feng was shocked and looked at the old ox. Master Ox, you can modify the speed at which time passes? The old ox remained silent but nodded. He admitted he could. How strong? Slow and fast strength can really do that. How incredible, thought Lin Feng delighted. The old ox controlled empty space original strength at the maximum level. It meant that he could make time pass slower or faster than in other places. Please help me, Lin Feng asked the old ox. The bestial saint's eyes twinkled. They wanted to see the old ox's incredible methods, as making time pass faster or slower was something incredible to see. They would also be able to study it. Therefore they tried to help Lin Feng. All right, I will, said the old ox. He released a mysterious kind of strength, which filled the air. Lin Feng suddenly had a strange sensation, but he couldn't describe what it felt like. He raised his arms. He wasn't moving faster or slower. It wasn't like fast or slow strength. It was extremely strange. The speed at which time passes now has already changed. I will protect you from outside. One day in the outside world is like a dozen days here, said the old ox to Lin Feng and the others. My master and I studied this kind of strength in Ganji's time. When you stay there for years and come out, you realize only 2 days pass in the outside world. But you don't feel anything strange there. You just save time. Ganji's time. Lin Feng looked surprised. The old ox and the god had been to Ganji's time, and they had come out safe and sound. Ganji's time was a forbidden territory. Some other people had also come out safe and sound. There was a legend in the continent of the 9 clouds, where some people went to Ganji's time, and when they came out, they were already so old that they were about to die. No wonder. If time passed extremely quickly inside, everything was possible. As Lin Feng was practicing cultivation with the high-level saints, the strong cultivators of the Fortune Shrine arrived at the empty space shrine. An empty space palace was floating in front of them. They looked furious and determined. That's how the situation in the continent of the 9 clouds really became explosive. Chapter 2448. Chaotic battles. The shrines were the most powerful groups in the continent of the 9 clouds. They didn't need to protect themselves, because nobody dared attack them in normal times. However, in times of turmoil, things were different and nobody could anticipate a world sinking into chaos. When the strong cultivators of the Fortune Shrine landed in the empty space shrine, the whole empty space shrine was shaken. Some incredible strong cultivators were in the empty space shrine to punish them. In a very short time, corpses fell from the sky, one after another. A terrifying chi filled the air. Everybody felt the pressure. 5 people had appeared in the sky above the empty space shrine. Those 5 people looked like gods, especially the one who was holding a scepter from which destiny lights emerged. He looked like an almighty god. Fortune Shrine, what's this supposed to mean? Asked someone at that moment coldly. An ice-cold energy filled the air. The empty space shrine used the celestial sealing map to seal Du City, and to attack the disciples of the Fortune Shrine. We obviously can't stay aside and watch, right? So we came with the scepter of destiny, said the strong cultivator in the middle calmly. The strong cultivators of the empty space shrine looked furious. Many people were shuddering with fear. The empty space shrine was sinking into chaos and fear. The scepter of destiny was a precious item of the same level as the celestial sealing map. The celestial sealing map could seal heaven and earth. The scepter of destiny contained the destiny heavenly destruction technique. Everything is negotiable, said a strong cultivator of the empty space shrine in a trembling voice. The 5 peerless saints of the Fortune Shrine had come with the scepter of destiny. They were just insane. When you sealed Du City, you didn't ask us if we wanted to talk, said a strong cultivator of the Fortune Shrine coldly. The world has sunk into chaos. Everything is allowed. Since you used the celestial sealing map, we use a similar weapon and Peerless Saints can attack as well. There are no rules anymore. After that, he raised his hand and threw out the scepter of destiny. It floated in the air and destiny lights appeared all around the empty space shrine. Feel the strength of destiny, said a strong cultivator of the Fortune Shrine coldly. Destiny lights enveloped the empty space shrine. The terrifying destiny strength kept rolling in waves all around. No! Shouted someone furiously. The empty space shrine was really going to sink into chaos. The Fortune Shrine was crazy. They had decided to attack the empty space shrine directly. They had come with the scepter of destiny, and the empty space shrine didn't have the celestial sealing map to protect themselves. Seal, said someone coldly. Instantly, some golden lights appeared and flashed. They sealed the whole shrine. However, the Peerless Saints of the Fortune Shrine just smiled coldly. One of them raised his hand above his head, and celestial star strength appeared in the sky and turned into a cosmic rain. Gigantic meteorites started falling from the sky, crashed onto the golden lights, and destroyed them. Lights flashed. Strong cultivators landed in front of the strong cultivators of the Fortune Shrine. The space became distorted. A vortex appeared and started absorbing the strong cultivators of the Fortune Shrine. The few saints smiled coldly and simply dispersed. Condense, said a strong cultivator of the empty space shrine coldly. A saint of the Fortune Shrine had the sensation, as if he were trapped in moving sands. The space around him was being sealed. The strong cultivator of the empty space shrine then teleported himself and reappeared next to the Fortune Shrine's strong cultivators. He raised his finger, and the space around him crackled. The Fortune Shrine's strong cultivators shouted furiously and attacked. The atmosphere kept crackling. The Peerless Saints of the Fortune Shrine turned into light beams. The empty space shrine's strong cultivators didn't feel relaxed at all. A mysterious strength surrounded the strong cultivator of the empty space shrine. Break! Shouted that strong cultivator furiously. His body exploded, and he turned into millions of pieces before vanishing. On the other side, there was a terrifying battle going on. The body of the Peerless empty space shrine saint, which had just exploded, condensed again there. At the same time, the Peerless Saints of the Fortune Shrine reappeared, moving together in perfect harmony. At that cultivation level, battles were unimaginably fantastic. However, the space wasn't sealed. The scepter of destiny flashed again. The strong cultivators of the empty space shrine were deathly pale and shaking. That ancient scepter of destiny was a deadly weapon. It could defy the laws of physics and kill people. Many of the empty space shrine's strongest cultivators kept falling from the sky one after another. Have the celestial sealing map come back, shouted someone. At that moment, in Du City, Xiongfan was seated cross-legged and suddenly pulled a long face. His face paled. Xiongfan, the Fortune Shrine came to our shrine with the scepter of destiny. I need the celestial sealing map to come back, shouted someone explosively. That voice reverberated everywhere in Du City. At that moment, people in Du City raised their heads and looked at the sky. It was undulating. Everybody was trembling. The Fortune Shrine had gone to the empty space shrine with the scepter of destiny? How incredible! Would that bring the conflicts to the next level? No. The Fortune Shrine wants to protect Lin Feng at all costs, which means he is definitely in Du City. Besides, we can now be sure that he's a forbidden person, replied Xiongfan. They couldn't let Lin Feng live. The Fortune Shrine was going crazy because of him. They wanted to make the empty space shrine bring the celestial sealing map back. We can't fight on all fronts, said a voice in the sky again. Since we all agreed on a plan, dear friends, all the shrines should help. Since the empty space shrine is helping in Du City, send your strong cultivators to the empty space shrine to help. The Fortune Shrine won't be able to do anything if all the shrines encircle them, said Xiongfan. The Fire Shrine is really willing to help, so of course I will go there right now. If the others don't help, then we'll give up on Lin Feng. Xiongfan disappeared, and forgot about Lin Feng for the time being. As long as the celestial ceiling map was over Du City, Lin Feng couldn't escape. They had to help the empty space shrine first. The fortune shrine is not afraid, and the fire shrine, the empty space shrine, and many other shrines are collaborating. It's too dangerous. Many people shuddered. If all the shrines joined hands, wouldn't they be able to destroy the fortune shrine easily? People's hearts were pounding. The empty space shrine had decided to use the celestial ceiling map because of Lin Feng. They wanted to kill him at all costs. And now the fortune shrine had gone to attack the empty space shrine directly, also because of Lin Feng. At that moment, a hole appeared in the celestial ceiling map, and people left through it, disappearing from everyone's field of vision. Everybody understood that those were people who were teleporting to the empty space shrine. After that, the celestial ceiling map shut itself again, and Du City was sealed once more. I wonder what's happening in the empty space shrine, murmured many people, gazing into the distance. There was probably a terrifying battle as fierce as the war in the ancient past. Since the end of the war in the old days, the shrines had never fought again. The world is sinking into chaos more and more every day, whispered an old man in Du City, looking up at the sky. Li Xiao and the others were astonished when they appeared in the sky of the empty space shrine. After Qiong Fan had left, Ordinary had seen them off too. They were annoyed because even though they were Shrine's members, if Qiong Fan wasn't there, Ordinary wasn't willing to host them. Next to Ordinary, Ao Songhai said, "The world has sunk into turmoil because of Lin Feng. I wonder how big the first Shrine's battle will be." "Don't worry, you can't imagine how complex the Shrine's plans can be," said Ordinary, smiling as if he understood things clearly. "What do you mean?" asked Ao Songhai. "The Fortune Shrine wants to protect that cultivator called Lin Feng, so they went to the empty space shrine, and they must have killed many strong cultivators there. But no Peerless Saint will die. That battle isn't a decisive battle. Its sole purpose is to annoy the empty space shrine. After the others arrive, the Fortune Shrine will leave. Do you really think the Fortune Shrine would take the risk of getting destroyed? And do you think that other shrines would take the risk of trying to kill the Fortune Shrine's Peerless Saints?" Ordinary smiled. He was a Peerless Saint, so he understood that for a shrine to kill a Peerless Saint, they had to make great efforts. And they had to be willing to suffer incredible losses too. "Master, you're really far-sighted. But if someone has the power to kill those Peerless Saints and to break the balance, they will," said Ao Songhai. "I know Lin Feng, he's a good guy. He probably has a forbidden body. I wonder whether he will survive. Funny, I also know a little boy called Lin Feng." Ordinary smiled. "But breaking the balance is easier said than done. All the shrines have precious items like the celestial ceiling map." "Yes, such items are the shrine's ultimate trump cards," Ao Songhai agreed. Ordinary smiled and didn't say anything else. He just raised his glass of liquor. He was curious to see how the world would evolve in this time of chaos. Chapter 2449. Discovered Du City had been sealed for a few days already. Local people were not going through happy times. Nobody could guess how the situation was going to evolve. At the same time, Mou, Ho Ching Lin, and the others were also stuck in Du City. They were so worried that their hearts burned constantly. They had no news from Lin Feng, and they had no news regarding the shrine's battle either. They didn't know where to go to be safe. But the Fortune Shrine had gone to the empty space shrine to kill people to protect Lin Feng. It was incredible. The continent of the Nine Clouds hadn't been so lively since the ancient war. Time passed. Lights appeared in the celestial ceiling map. A few people descended from the sky and landed in Du City. The crowd was astonished. The Shrine's alliance was back so soon? How had the Shrine's battle ended? Ordinary, the supreme cultivator, was still with his guests. He wanted to settle in Du City, and had recruited some disciples. That's why he had invited some friends as well. It wasn't surprising. "They're back. Songhai, how do you think the battle ended?" asked Ordinary with a grin. "The empty space shrine has lost many strong cultivators, including some high-level saints. The Fortune Shrine went there, and probably didn't leave empty-handed," replied Ao Songhai. Regarding the alliance, I don't think they will necessarily use precious items like the celestial sealing map, but I think they will go to the fortune shrine. I'm convinced all sorts of shrines are waiting outside of the fortune shrine even now. What you mean is that they won't allow the fortune shrine's people to come out, said Ordinary, smiling. Indeed. They must have sent some peerless saints to stay outside of the fortune shrine, so the fortune shrine won't bother them again while they try to kill Lin Feng. For them, killing Lin Feng is the best way to get their revenge. Indeed. But apart from that, the other shrines want to kill Lin Feng, and also, they hope the tensions between the fire shrine and the fortune shrine will deepen, said Ordinary indifferently. Both of them burst into laughter. Xiong Fan was back in Du City. Apart from him, there was another peerless saint in Du City, Lu Yang from the Empty Space Shrine. At that moment, both of them were in the sky and inspected the city with their godly awareness. However, after a long time, they still couldn't find Lin Feng. They were stupefied. Same as last time and this time. Nobody prevented me from inspecting any area, said Xiong Fan. Maybe he has an incredible empty space treasure, which allows him to hide really well. We need to pay attention, said Lu Yang. He was a saint of the empty space illusion. He knew how extraordinary empty space strength could be. Yes, maybe we need to break people's rings, said Xiong Fan. Breaking into people's rings was one of the worst things cultivators could do in life, but they didn't care. Let's do it, said the two people, closing their eyes. Their terrifying godly awareness enveloped the whole city. Xiong Fan's godly awareness turned into a fire awl, and Lu Yang's godly awareness turned into an empty space sword. They started breaking people's ring seals and breaking into them. At that moment, someone pulled a long face into Du City. He sensed that the seal of his ring was being broken, and that someone's godly awareness was penetrating into it. That strong cultivator could break the seal of his ring easily. It's Thumb. When he thought of the shrines, he pulled a long face. People's rings contained precious treasures. It was against all rules in the cultivation world. It was a blasphemy, but now, those people dared break their ring seals. Very quickly, many strong cultivators sensed that the seals of their rings were being broken. They were furious, but they couldn't do anything. It was humiliating and infuriating. The shrines dared do anything to find Lin Feng. However, there were many people in Du City, and inspecting people's rings was much more complex than just inspecting the city with godly awareness. Lu Yang and Xiong Fan also bumped into high-level saints who sealed their rings properly, so it was troublesome for Lu Yang and Xiong Fan. They had to talk to the Sanites telepathically and ask them to show their rings to make things simple. They accepted because they feared Lu Yang and Xiong Fan would kill them otherwise. The two peerless saints inspected people's rings for 20 days, but they didn't find Lin Feng. What's going on now? Could it be that he's escaped from Du City? Said Xiong Fan. Impossible. Nobody can escape the celestial sealing map, replied Lu Yang. Haven't we omitted someone? Only our people and Ordinary and his friends, replied Xiong Fan. First, let's inspect our people's rings, and then we'll go back and see Ordinary, said Lu Yang. Xiong Fan nodded. Their own people couldn't hide anything from them. They inspected the fire shrine and the empty space shrine's strong cultivators' rings. Most people let them check their rings without protesting. But they didn't find anything. If he has an empty space treasure, we can definitely find him. So it seems that he's with Ordinary, said Lu Yang indifferently. They both nodded and flew away. After a short time, they landed where Ordinary lived. Why did you come back? Du City is sealed, so some of my friends are stuck here, and some others can't come in. It's been a month, said Ordinary coldly. Du City's people were annoyed. Du City had been sealed by the celestial sealing map for a month. Brother Ordinary, don't be angry, we have no alternative, Xiong Fan smiled. We came back because we inspected the whole city, and we didn't find the one we're looking for. So we thought he might be here. Brother Ordinary, could we inspect the area properly? You already inspected the area using your godly awareness, said Ordinary coldly. We need to inspect people's rings, replied Xiong Fan. Everybody was astonished. Nobody was willing to let him inspect their rings. Apart from you, everybody here is my friend. They're all my guests. and I won't let anyone humiliate them. I hope you understand, said Ordinary, coldly staring at Xiongfan. They both stared at each other coldly. Ordinary was a supreme cultivator. If he gave way, he'd lose face. What if we really need to inspect your rings? Asked Lu Yang. Try and you'll see, replied Ordinary coldly. Lu Yang remained silent for a few seconds and said to Ordinary, We have no choice but to offend you today. He released his godly awareness and started inspecting, then said to Xiongfan, You go and inspect our people. They hadn't inspected all their people's rings. Those who had come the previous time, and were still there hadn't had their rings inspected yet. All right, Xiongfan nodded. They didn't want to offend Ordinary, but they had no choice. In the Star World, Lin Feng had already been practicing cultivation for more than a year. The old ox hadn't gone away. He had also made time pass differently for Lin Feng, to save time. That year, Lin Feng practiced cultivation really hard. He fought against the bestial saints he studied. He practiced alone, and when he didn't understand he asked. The bestial saints and Lin Feng slowly became friends. They liked people like Lin Feng. Lin Feng knew he couldn't be too greedy though. He needed to progress step by step. He needed to progress with one sort of original strength, and he chose Earth original strength. Lin Feng was seated cross-legged. He was calmly studying Earth's strength pulsations. It felt like a heart with veins and arteries, a very strange sensation. He knew that he made lots of progress, but he hadn't become a high-level saint yet. At that moment, the old ox next to him frowned. He sensed that someone was inspecting the ring and watching them. How much longer do you need? Asked the old ox. Master Ox, I'm almost done. I just need a little bit more time, said Lin Feng. He could sense that something was happening. He didn't know why he had chosen Earth strength. Maybe it was because he was always standing on the ground. All right, I'll give you some more time. Hurry, said the old ox. He released an ominous qi. In the outside world, Xiongfan was staring at Li Xiao, his eyes glittering. Li Xiao was startled. Take that sword out, Xiongfan said to Li Xiao. Li Xiao nodded hastily, and a sword appeared in front of him. He was very nervous, wondering why Xiongfan was staring at that sword. Where did you get it? Asked Xiongfan coldly. A member of the Fortune Shrine threw it away while we were battling. I took it and she was gone already, said Li Xiao honestly. He didn't dare lie to a peerless cultivator. Moron, said Xiongfan coldly. He was furious. He had been looking for Lin Feng for such a long time and surprisingly, one of his people had him. He unsheathed the sword and dazzling lights flashed. Lu Yang also arrived and inspected the sword. Strange, there must be a hidden world inside. We can't look inside, it doesn't work, said Xiongfan. See if you can find a solution. Let's take it to the shrine. If he's hiding in there, and we take it to the shrine, he will never be able to escape, said Lu Yang coldly. At that moment, Lin Feng was in his spirit's world. His eyes were closed and he was seated in the sky. He visualized an empty world with earth only. He could sense every inch of the ground of the whole world. He could sense the pulsations of the veins of the earth. He was fusing together with the world. In my own world, I can feel things more accurately. When I made my own God intent fuse together with earth strength, it works. In my own world, my earth strength has already reached the maximum level, but it seems that I didn't break through, thought Lin Feng, opening his eyes. He felt annoyed. In the end, it seemed that he was still at his God level. He still didn't have a normal cultivation level like he had in the past, so he couldn't become a high-level saint. But my original strength has reached the maximum level, so I am like any other high-level saint, thought Lin Feng. A wall appeared in front of him. He had made it himself. Not only could he use original strength to fight, he could also create proper things. Thanks to my God strength. Even if my other types of original strengths haven't reached the maximum level, I can still make my earth original strength turn into other types of strength. That's an advantage, but it's still not enough. And in the end, it remains earth strength. When my other kinds of original strengths reach the maximum level, I'll be able to destroy high-level saints, he thought. He went back to the star world and arrived in front of the 3 peerless bestial saints. Masters, My Earth original strength has already reached the maximum level, but because of my strange body, I can't become a high-level saint. One of them opened his eyes and said to Lin Feng, "Release your original strength and show me." Lin Feng nodded, then he released Earth original strength. Explosive Earth strength churned in the air. It blotted out the sky and covered the earth. It moved towards the Peerless bestial saint. He looked ferocious as he shook his hand, and destroyed it instantly. Indeed, it has reached its maximum level. I'll go out with you. The Peerless bestial saint nodded. Xiong Fan and Lu Yang tried all they could to inspect the sword, but nothing worked. What an incredible treasure! We can try and seal it with the celestial sealing map to bring it back to the shrines. No need, said a voice at that moment. Xiong Fan was stupefied. Then two people came out of the precious item, which disappeared. They frowned. That item could really hide people. It really was another world. Li Zhao's face paled. Lin Feng had really been hiding in the precious item. He had been used by Lin Feng. The two Peerless saints had been looking for him for more than a month. Xiong Fan glanced at them coldly. Surprisingly, Lin Feng was with the Peerless saint. Good little boy, said Ao Songhai. His eyes were twinkling as he smiled happily. It really was Lin Feng. Ordinary the Supreme Cultivator, and the Peerless cultivators next to him all recognized Lin Feng, as well as the bestial saint next to him. It was one of the three Peerless bestial saints of the Star World. When they were in the Star World, fighting against those three beasts was part of their exam. You really think highly of me, said Lin Feng, smiling at Xiong Fan and Lu Yang. He was privately amazed. Two Peerless saints just for him? Suddenly, a dazzling light streaked across the sky. The space around Lin Feng flashed, and he disappeared. How fast? The people around frowned. How incredible! It was a quick attack, and the other side had reacted quickly too. A moment before, Lu Yang had attacked Lin Feng. He could have killed him instantly, but one of his allies teleported him next to Ordinary and the others. Can I have a glass too? Asked the bestial saint, smiling at Ordinary. Ordinary smiled and said, Lin Feng is my little friend. Of course you can have a glass with us. Come sit. Then he looked at Lu Yang and Xiong Fan and said, Are you done causing trouble here? Brother Ordinary, this is the shrine's business. Please don't get involved, said Xiong Fan. You tried to inspect our rings with force. You humiliated me. And in the end, one of your own guys helped him hide. You're ridiculous. Lin Feng is our friend and guest today. You can talk to him next time, when he's not my guest, said Ordinary coldly. I'm not seeing you off. Are you sure you want to get involved? Asked Xiong Fan coldly. You consider everyone else beneath your notice, don't you? Ordinary smiled. His eyes looked ice cold. Nobody had ever threatened him and lived. Help me watch him, said the bestial saint to Ordinary. Ordinary and the bestial saint had already fought. He knew how strong Ordinary was, so Ordinary was perfectly capable of taking care of Lin Feng. No problem, replied Ordinary easily. It's been a long time since I fought for real. It'll be good to train again, said the bestial saint casually. He looked at the Peerless saint next to Lin Feng, who was also one of the four supreme cultivators, who faced the old ox back in the days with Lin Feng. Sa Lung the supreme cultivator. What do you want to do? Lin Feng is also a little friend of mine. Perfect. Today we'll have an opportunity to train, said Sa Lung with a grin. They looked at Xiong Fan and Lu Yang together, and an incredible strength emerged. I don't believe you can protect him, said Lu Yang, releasing empty space strength. He was also a Peerless saint, who could protect Lin Feng against him. He flashed forwards and disappeared. After a few seconds, Lin Feng sensed danger. However, at the same time, an incredible earth strength surrounded him, and he disappeared. He was in the ground, and when he reappeared, Ordinary the supreme cultivator had taken him high up in the air. Brother Ordinary is using the pulsations of the earth, so he can obviously sense what other people do since they move through the world. Now he's taking me away, thought Lin Feng. At that moment, the Peerless bestial saint appeared in front of Lu Yang and stared at him. In Lu Yang's eyes, many silhouettes of the bestial saint appeared. Lu Yang was astonished because he couldn't recognize which one was the real one. Die, said Lu Yang, stretching out his hand. A strong wind started blowing and sweeping everything away. However, the empty space strong wind dispersed when it reached the bestial saint, and then his many silhouettes moved forwards. It's an illusion, a real illusion. Even empty space strength is caught in the illusion, whispered Ordinary when he saw that. He was amazed. Sa Lung also started fighting against Qiong Fan. Lin Feng looked at Ordinary and whispered, "Thank you very much, brother. It's nothing really. Just a slight effort. Back then when we arrived in front of the old ox, we were already 4 of the strongest supreme cultivators. We can easily defeat the peerless saints of the shrines. Sa Lung controls a fusion of dark light strength. He's a real murderer," said Ordinary with a smile. "But we also need to be careful when they attack you by surprise, because you can't compete with them." "Indeed," said Lin Feng, nodding. He looked at the members of the shrines and said, "But those people really want to kill me, so I have to teach them a good lesson." The members of the shrines were startled. Lin Feng wanted to fight against them? The members of the shrines looked at him with murder in their eyes. Lin Feng shot towards the other members of the shrines. Instantly, a few people released deadly energies. It was an opportunity to kill Lin Feng. A terrifying empty space strength moved towards them. They smiled coldly. He wanted to attack them with such a weak empty space strength? Suddenly, the empty space strength turned into an incredible earth strength and started burying them. At the same time, Lin Feng flashed towards Li Xiao. Li Xiao was staring at Lin Feng. He wanted to regain his lost face. Lin Feng stopped in front of him and pointed a finger at him. Li Xiao groaned coldly. He released empty space strength to surround his body. However, Lin Feng's finger pierced through, and Li Xiao's organs were suddenly badly injured. His face paled. Lin Feng put his hand into the golden empty space strength. His hell finger penetrated into Li Xiao's body and destroyed him. Chapter 2451. Killing a high-level saint. Earth pulsations. Ordinary, a supreme cultivator, was astonished when he saw Lin Feng's attack. His attack had the same pulsations as the earth, which made his attack extremely heavy and powerful. That little boy progresses really quickly. No wonder that the old ox thinks highly of him. He'll definitely reach my cultivation level in the future, thought Ordinary. A low-level saint attacked Lin Feng, but was stopped by a stone wall out of nowhere. Ordinary was amazed. Empty space strength and earth strength rotate. First empty space strength invades the space, and then it turns into earth strength, thought Ordinary. How beautiful. Lin Feng punched his enemy's head and killed him instantly and easily. Low-level saints didn't pose a threat to Lin Feng anymore. They were just too weak now. "I'll kill him," said someone coldly. The crowd moved away to let a high-level saint of the empty space shrine pass. As he stared at Lin Feng, his name was Rongqing. His empty space strength had reached the maximum level, and he had become a high-level saint 3,000 years before. Now 2 of his original strengths had reached the maximum level, the second one being water original strength. Even though he still hadn't managed to fuse his original strengths together, he was still very strong. "I saw you during the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. Back then, I never thought you'd fight against me mere decades later. I didn't think the shrines would need to send such forces to fight against you either. You're an exceptional fighter in the continent of the 9 clouds," Rongqing said to Lin Feng slowly. "But you have to understand that even if 3 peerless saints are helping you, you won't be able to survive today. The shrines want to kill you, not one shrine, several. You will die today." Lin Feng knew he was in danger. Diyu City was completely sealed, so he couldn't escape. The shrines wanted to kill him. He knew it was a critical situation. But he wasn't weak either. Brother Ordinary and Brother Sa Lung were helping him. The old ox and the others had also set high expectations and hopes on him. He knew it. Even if the old ox was always cold and detached, many people couldn't wait to see him become stronger. How could he die? He would leave Diyu City, even half dead. Brother Ordinary and Brother Sa Lung were helping him. By helping him, they had offended the shrines. Even if they didn't care, Lin Feng cared. There are many things you hadn't imagined back in the days. Maybe you never thought the empty space shrine would get wiped off the maps of the continent of the 9 clouds, either. replied Lin Feng coldly. Is that so? You look quite calm. You don't know how to evaluate danger. Don't blame me for bullying younger people, retorted Rongqing, smiling coldly. He released empty space strength, which fused together with the space around him before moving inside. Earth, said Lin Feng. He took a deep breath and calmly sensed the pulsations of the earth. Every inch of the earth pulsated in his veins and arteries. Bright lights appeared in front of him and pressed towards him. Slow, said Lin Feng while moving backwards. He wasn't frightened at all. He had been fighting against the 9 bestial saints on a daily basis for a long time. They were much stronger than Rongqing. The empty space strength turned into a sword and continued shooting towards him. However, Lin Feng just tilted aside, and the empty space strength flew past his shoulder. Freeze! The space became ice cold as Rongqing started freezing the space around them. Lin Feng was surprised at the chill. He countered by releasing earth strength, which turned into an armor. Rongqing grunted coldly. He slowly walked towards Lin Feng, releasing empty space strength which penetrated into his body without breaking the ice. He frowned. He realized that his attack hadn't reached Lin Feng's body, as if he wasn't inside. He waved his hand and golden lights appeared in the ice. A terrifying empty space thunder descended from the sky. Break! Rongqing attacked the frozen earth, and the ice and the earth broke apart at the same time. The terrifying empty space thunder descended from the sky. Anyone who was frozen would be killed. The crowd around them moved away. Rongqing frowned. He looked down at his feet, where the ground was pulsating. A gigantic piece of ground trembled, rose up, and buried him. A figure appeared in the mud in the ground. It was Lin Feng, who had become an integral part of the earth. The ground was his body. He could sense things clearly, especially Rongqing's strength in the ground. Lin Feng turned into a beam of light and moved towards Rongqing. He raised his hand and released strength, his strength pulsing at the same pace as the earth. The ground exploded loudly, and his attack reached Rongqing, whose face stiffened. He was on the verge of collapse. Opportunity! Lin Feng shouted furiously, and threw his fist at Rongqing's head. His fist contained an oppressive and heavy earth strength, which shrieked as it tore space. In the end, he didn't aim at Rongqing's head, and instead punched his chest. However, he wasn't smiling. On the contrary, his expression suddenly changed. Water! Lin Feng had the impression he had punched water. Rongqing's body was extremely soft. It was pierced through, but nothing happened. As if he had punched water. It was a particular defense of people whose water original strength had reached the maximum level. Die, said Rongqing, smiling coldly. He already considered Lin Feng dead. Lin Feng's arms started freezing. Rongqing drove his fist at Lin Feng's head. It contained an incredible empty space thunder. If his fist reached Lin Feng, he was definitely going to die. Slow, countered Lin Feng, releasing slow strength. He slowed his opponent down, and at the same time, he released stone strength, burying his enemy again. But Rongqing's fist continued moving towards him. Lin Feng waved his arm, and it turned into a stone which pulsed at the same pace as the earth. But did he have time to dodge? He started to evade Rongqing's attack. Ordinary was impressed. Lin Feng's strength was already not bad. One of his original strengths had already reached the maximum level, but Rongqing had 2 strengths at the maximum level. Lin Feng might not be strong enough to compete with Rongqing. Ordinary was getting ready to get involved. Die! Shouted Lin Feng at that moment suddenly. The ground trembled. Soundwave and illusion strength smashed into Rongqing's head. Even as Lin Feng released earth strength. The soundwave strength was inside the earth strength, so it made Rongqing's head shake unceasingly, even as illusions appeared in Rongqing's mind. He had the impression he had already attacked Lin Feng and failed. Acceleration! Lin Feng released fast strength in his arm, and threw his fist at Rongqing. At the same time, Rongqing's fist was getting closer and closer to his head. Lin Feng's fist moved far faster, the soundwave strength continuing to resonate. Rongqing had the impression he was carrying the whole world on his shoulders. When he came back to his senses, he realized he hadn't killed Lin Feng yet, and was momentarily startled. But he was a high-level saint after all. So he said coldly, I didn't think you could control so many sorts of original strength. Even though they haven't reached the maximum level, it's an advantage. You used earth, soundwave and cursing original strengths, not bad. But you can't kill me. You will die. He was trying to demoralize Lin Feng. However, Lin Feng just looked at him in a cold and detached way. Rongqing controlled water original strength at the maximum level. Was he really invincible because of that? There had to be a solution even if his body was as soft as water. He needed to attack every single part of his body to defeat him. That was it. Lin Feng didn't flinch. He attacked again. Rongqing smiled coldly. Lin Feng was acting recklessly. Did he really want to fight a second time? He was staring at Lin Feng as he condensed empty space strength. He wanted to defeat Lin Feng in one attack. He couldn't give Lin Feng any opportunity. Lin Feng also moved. His speed became incredible. He reached his maximum speed, moving in an eye blink towards Rongqing. Lin Feng raised his fist, in which he had condensed fast strength. Rongqing's body turned into water, and his body became incredibly soft. He wanted Lin Feng's punch to pierce through him, but this time, Lin Feng stopped his fist inside the water. You can't kill me, said Rongqing. Smiling coldly, nobody is invincible, replied Lin Feng. He waved his hand and attacked the soft water body again. He condensed fast strength in his hand, as well as pulsing earth original strength. Each time the earth strength pulsed, the water rolled in waves. A terrifying sword energy suddenly invaded the water, and God's strength swept everything away. Rongqing's smile suddenly stiffened. His body was starting to disintegrate. How is that possible? Rongqing's face turned deathly pale. His didn't understand. A destructive sword chi tore through him, and Rongqing turned into dust and disappeared in the empty space. Lin Feng smiled coldly. Had Rongqing really thought he was invincible? That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.